Hey, 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 welcome back, everybody, to Let's Talk Live. We are here on this Friday, and today we had the defense state their case. It was finally nice to see the Commonwealth rest because I don't think I could take another week nor another few days or another few hours or minutes of ADA lunchbox Lally. I'm done. I don't need to hear from him anymore. I don't need to hear from witnesses that were inside the waterfall that were there for 5 minutes to hear about what kind of drinks that they had that night. It's done. It's over. I'm done. I'm done. And his cross examination was just as awful today. I think you all can agree, but very exciting stuff to see the defense have their turn in telling their story and showing this jury the truth. And I think that you all can agree because it's just been smoke and mirrors for the last 8 weeks. We are tired of it. And you're going to hear a clip in a few minutes here from David Yannetti basically saying that in his opinion, that the jury wants this trial. They want to deliberate it, and they want this to be over. And I got to give Aiden Turtleboy Carney amazing props to getting that small interview on the way out of court. And you're also going to hear from Brian Green today, too. So I have a lot to go through tonight on tonight's episode, and I want to welcome everybody into the chat. Thank you for being here. And listen, I want to say this. We've been on a very long journey, especially here on LTL, following the Karen Read case for a better part of almost a year. And this channel has gone through many changes, so much growth. I've had such an amazing opportunity to meet so many fabulous people through this case. Listen, I've got the opportunity to sit in court. That's pretty badass. And I think we've had an awesome opportunity here to do a lot of good for Karen Read. And that's especially with all of the fundraising that we've done here and the kickback and having all of you here to support the channel, support Karen, because like I said, when I had that opportunity to meet Karen's defense team and Alan Jackson had that small, I called it like a speech, to have that small speech with us and step back and thank the Glare and myself for being there and really saying that if this didn't have the public attention, if Karen's case didn't have the public attention that it did, it probably would be a very different case for her. And I felt that in the sense of, not just the reporting from Aiden Turtleboy Carney, not from the the expansion of that with all of these other channels and creators that have gotten involved in this, but I think just morally for Karen, if she didn't have this support, this free Karen Read wave behind her, this may be different from her. She might not have that spirit to get up every day and face what she's been having to face over the last 2.5 years. I concur. I think it would be a very different experience and trial for her, and she shouldn't have to be going through this. This shouldn't even be a trial. There should be no question that Karen Read is factually innocent. So let's get in today to a little bit of what happened in and around the courtroom. First, what I want to do is pull up this small interview outside with forensics expert Brian Green and David Yannetti via Aiden Turtleboy Carney. Let me just pull that up really quick, and then we will get into my presentation for tonight. And as you all know, folks, all donations that come in tonight, 25% of that will get kicked back to Karen Read's defense fund. And I have a link up there if you want to support me as well. And the 25% will get kicked back. You know my customary how I do that at the end. I post the receipt up on my Facebook page and then my YouTube community page. And ultimately, you can just vet me and go right to the fence link. And you'll see, we'll say LTL Media Chat Raiser, and it will say the date of 6/21/24. Okay, let's do this. I'm just going to readjust here, and let's get this pulled up, and we will hear from one David Unetti and one, I'm sorry, I said Brian. Didn't I say Brian? I did say Brian, didn't I? I meant Richard. Let's play that.
Did you expect Professor Donovan?
No, I was sitting there smiling on the inside. She's honest about her assessment.
Medical examiners said that John's injuries were not classic pedestrian injuries, which we all knew, but it was good to hear an expert say it. Their expert.
Yeah, Karen makes a good point there.
Mr. Green, how were you feeling?
Oh, good.
I apologize on behalf of the Commonwealth for the way Adam Wally treated you, but I think you handled it pretty well.
It was fine. It was fine. He has a job to do, and hopefully he appreciated some clarity I brought to everything.
Is that the first time you've ever apologized to a prosecutor for causing him distress?
That was a little bit of a new one for me, but he seemed upset. So
Yes. Well, I'm glad. Hope you made us Friday. Have a good weekend.
And they never did. It took them a year and a half to even interview. He should be the number one witness for an honest prosecution. The prosecution should have been trying to find out, hey, who plowed the street on a night where there was an absolute blizzard? Somebody had to, and did they see a body in the lawn? Is our theory correct? Apparently they didn't care. We did. We got him within 2 weeks.
And did that come out after his reporting? Is that how you, or did you?
No, we found him first. I think
Hit him 6 months before me.
Yeah, well, Aiden found him independently of us. But we talked with him on February 15th of 2022. We knew early on. I knew right then that they were never going to be able to prove this case.
Mr. Yannick, can you tell me how many witnesses do you have left, and can you name who they are?
Sure. We have 3 witnesses left. It's going to be Dr. Frank Sheridan, pathologist, and the 2 ARCA guys.
Yeah,
baby. So impressive in court.
Okay, so you won't even bother with the people who were bitten by Chloe or any of those folks?
We don't have to go there.
Okay.
This jury wants this case, and we want to give this jury this case.
You feel confident right now in a not guilty verdict?
We feel very confident.
Yeah.
How many days left are you expecting?
I'm sorry?
How many days left are you expecting?
I think we're going to finish with testimony on.
It sounded like you said, I think we're going to finish with testimony on Monday. That's insane. Now, I'm scheduled to be there on Friday. Probably not going to happen. I mean, but you never know. Verdicts could take days, weeks to deliberate. So I don't know. I mean, judging to all the experts that I've listened to, they're saying this is going to be ultimately a very quick acquittal. So, I go on the advice of Melanie Little and Mark Bedrow. They've been crushing it on all of the channels they've been on. And they're saying, even when I got the opportunity to speak to both of them down in front of the courthouse, quick acquittal. Mark said it's going to be a very quick acquittal. So hopefully, we never know what a jury can do and a jury can decide, but, we'll have to see. So again, today we had the prosecution rest. We finished up with the medical examiner, and I'm going to pull up my presentation here in a second. And we saw the bullying tactics of the defense witnesses by one Lunchbox Lally, bullying. I mean, literally bullying witnesses all day. And the defense was speaking over them, and belittling them and talking, over them. Judge Bev had to step in a couple of times and say, hey, watch yourself, watch your etiquette. And this is, the reason that he's acting like this now is because he knows that he has no case. His case is sunk, and he's going to try to battle back with all of these witnesses to belittle their expertise and or things that they saw in and around 34 Fairview that night. And I'm referring to one Lucky Loughran. So let me pull up my presentation. Oh, but before I do that, I wanted to show you all this today. And I usually don't pay the trolls much attention, but this is pretty far-fetched and reaching and pretty sick-minded way of thinking. But let me just pull this up. And I saw this on this account, K. Marie, and she says here, Karen Read still smiling and winking at a juror. So let's go back and play this, and we'll run through this. And she's literally winking at Liz. Liz just got up, crushed her direct, and she's literally winking at her, saying that, good job, Liz. So we'll play this here. No sound, of course, but watch the eye wink, and you can see the head turn clearly. Karen looks at Liz and winks at her, saying thank you. Yeah, she crushed it. And this is what these sick maniacs come up with. And they literally say things like, I think in one of the comments here, I said, it's kind of hard to smile and wink at a juror when your attorney just turned and looked at you after an amazing cross-examination. What I meant was direct, because we've been in cross for so long. Literally, someone said, does she have some kind of relationship with this juror? It seriously makes me wonder. This is how these people think. They're sick-minded people. But anyway, I tend to look at these things on Twitter and laugh. I pay them no attention. I guess except for today, because it was pretty laughable. But Linda Boo, kicking it off, $9.99. Thank you so much for the $9.99. I appreciate that. And we'll kick that off with the rounding total. And 25% tonight will get kicked back to Karen Read. If one of my moderators out there can keep a rolling total for me as I call off the donations, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And hopefully we can make some money and get it kicked back to Karen this evening. So thank you, Linda Boo. I appreciate the $9.99er. All right, let's get into my presentation. Oh, by the way, I'm back. I'm in the studio. It is a wonderful, what am I looking at? 24 degrees Celsius. That will change. They have to still do a little bit of work on the digital thermostats here. But I got up in the room today. It was a little humid. I had a conversation with my wonderful landlord here, and he just told me about the process over the last couple of days. They had the ACs kicked on, and I actually got cold in here. I actually got a little chilly in here, so I'm not complaining. It's great. And guess what? That means this week I'm going to start reaching out to some people and getting them up here in the studio. Empty seat right there, empty seat right there. Camera will be right here, and we're going to have some live conversations. And I have some guests that I have in mind that I want to reach out to. And it's just a matter if we can hook up that time and get them here in the studio. I am super excited about it. And I think it's going to be a game changer for LTL. I really do. Because it's such a different presentation, in my opinion, when you have someone literally sitting in front of you making eye contact. And it's such a different thing to do. So really excited about that. Let's see here. Just catching up with the chat. Let's see. Nikki Johnson, thank you for the 10, says for our girl. Yes, I love it. 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 And the other thing that I need to do is get my sound effects hooked up. I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear the applause? I don't know if you can hear it. But I need to get some external speakers so I can hear the sounds. Let's see. I just had a LTL stands for Let's Talk Live. A $10 from Allison on Cash App says, thanks for your coverage. I like how laid back it is. Not too much talking over, just enough. Do you have an email address? I do have an email address. And my email is, you can click on this link right here. Click on that link when it comes up. So we had, let's see, rolling total. We had 10 to kick off the show. We had another 10 that came in. I just got another 10 on Cash App. We have a 199er, says, bring Mark Betterow into the studio. Ask him tomorrow. So Mark lives in New York, so that's going to be hard to do that. But I did reach out to him and another guest that I'm trying to coordinate at the same time. They're busy, just haven't gotten back to me. And hopefully I can get them in here at some point, or just digitally, virtually on the show. That would be really great. Peggy, wow, kicking it off. Big time, Peggy. Thank you so much for your kindness. I appreciate you. You've come really hot and heavy over the last couple of days with huge donations. I appreciate it. And Peggy says, Karen Reed is factually innocent. Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate you. And 25% of your donation will get kicked back to Karen Reed. All right, let me get into my presentation. I'm going to bring that up here. Let me just present it, and then I will share my screen. Let me go back to the beginning. All right, full screen. Here we go. I haven't done one of these in a while. I love doing the presentations. All right, bang, today, Team Reed. And I have this kind of ongoing theme here. I saw a post today, a Reservoir Dogs post, and I felt like this was almost perfect for this. And it has kind of that theme in my presentation. So Team Reed, and then David Yannetti with that famous quote in the opening statement, wait for us, wait for us. And it's going to happen. Absolutely love that. So let's move on here. So to kick off today, we heard from the medical examiner, Irina Scorbello, and I hope I didn't trash her name there, and I apologize if I did. And I have that confirmed sticker down there. Now, she had confirmed basically that the injuries to John O'Keefe, possibly, in her expert opinion, could be from a fight. The injury to the back of John O'Keefe's head possibly could be from a strike with a weight or hitting the concrete. So I have to say that was confirmed, and this is confirmed by whose witness? The Commonwealth's witness. And, you know, it's almost like she was holding back and hesitating. And I made that, you know, I made those observations throughout her testimony today. And, you know, I don't know, maybe you all felt that. Maybe you all felt she was holding back a little bit there, and that she really wanted to step up and tell the truth. But I don't know. I don't know what that hesitation was and what that holding back was, but I still think it was a positive for the defense today. All right. And then we had Alan Jackson with the motion to dismiss to get that direct verdict. The thing that I like about this, and I knew right away that when he was doing this, that Bev was not obviously going to dismiss this case, but I felt that it was a very positive thing to get on the record. It wasn't in front of the jurors, but at least it's on the record. And the reason I say this is, God forbid, we have to go to an appeal. It is on there, and it's on the record. Moving along. Oh, yes. The defense's first witness, one Lucky Loughran, with the Franken truck driver, and I put here confirmed. He confirmed the Ford Edge, and Lally got up and tried to bully this man into changing his testimony. He confirmed that some reports that came out from Michael Proctor, things that were said on there that he did not confirm, and he was going to stand strong with this. This guy has no fight. He's a townie. He's just going to go in. You can tell he loves his job, and he's just going to tell it the way that it is. So perfect, positive witness for the defense, and I think it really helped strengthen their case today. So we move on. We had Dr. Marie Russell, the dog bite expert. We've heard about her. We saw the VOR-DUM, that I call it, from the other day, and she confirmed, essentially in her expert opinion, that these are dog bites to John O'Keefe's arm. And I tweeted this out today. If you missed my tweets, I was tweeting all day and said, Dr. Russell has accomplished more in her lifetime than every lying witness for the Commonwealth. And I really love that tweet. And I wanted to share that with you all if you hadn't seen that. And then moving on again, we had Richard Green. And Richard, I apologize. I called you Brian Green. And I think because of Brian Lucky Loughran today. And I'm not going to get so much into his testimony for review tonight. It was a little confusing, I think, for some people to follow. I got a little bit lost in it, to be honest with you. But I think this kind of sums up my strong point from Richard Green's testimony today. And I put a tweet out, and it says, the timestamps Green speaks about align with Jennifer McCabe's message, pull behind me at 12:31 a.m. upon seeing Karen Reed's SUV arrive at 34 Fairview. However, Karen Reed was already at Meadows by then, which was 4 minutes after Jen's text. Given the minute minimum drive from Fairview to Meadows, Jen couldn't have seen Karen Reed's SUV at Fairview. Rick Green confirms Officer John O'Keefe's movements between 12:32 a.m. With Karen Reed being halfway back to Meadows by then. So I thought that tweet was excellent. I think summed up essentially the powerful moment in Richard Green's testimony today. All right, let's review some testimony, and we'll go through that here. And what I want to do is I just saw some super chats come in. Truth and Transparency. Thank you so much for the $9.99er. It says Karen Reed's case equals reasonable doubt before the corruption. The corruption made it a railroad job against Karen Reed. Bring on the civil suits for Reed. Thank you so much, Truth and Transparency. I appreciate the super chat. We had another $9.99er come in from Gen X Chick. Do we have any tape of Lunchbox during other crosses? Wanting to know if he's always a bully or if he's trying to channel AJ. He sucked. And if that was if he sucked and he sucked if that was a channeling thing. No, I just think that he's pissed. He's angry. He knows that this case is sunk. He knows he's on the losing end of this. This literally started off for Adam Lally the first day of witness testimony. Because what did he do? He called Aaron and Paul, and I keep saying John, Aaron and Paul O'Keefe to the stand and essentially confirmed that Karen Reed was very good to John's kids, to the niece and nephew, that she was, John and her had a very normal relationship. And outside of anything else, the fighting that they had was anything normal in any relationship. And I ask this to all of you. Have you ever fought with your spouse? Have you ever fought with your significant other? Have you ever said things to them in anger? Of course you have, but that doesn't make you a killer. It doesn't make you a murderer. And the evidence in this case that the Commonwealth is trying to present with all the smoke and mirrors here does not line up. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. And we know that. And look at AJ, Yannetti, and Liz did an amazing job sinking all of the Commonwealth's witnesses that you could not come to any type of conclusion and cast a tremendous amount of reasonable doubt in this case. Thank you. Great chat. Thank you. Let's see. So let's do this. Let's move on to some testimony. We will go through that. And let me start off with the medical examiner. So like I said, I am scheduled to be back in court on Friday. I don't think that I may not be able to go. I know I have Wednesday off. So if it sounded like David Yannetti said that they were going to rest on Monday, and if this goes to the jury for deliberation, we possibly could have a verdict on Tuesday or Wednesday. But again, it could take jurors time. So my plan is on Wednesday, I do have off from work. I'm going to be out at least in front of the court if this goes to Wednesday, out there to support. And if it goes to Friday, I don't know how that works. I guess I would be welcomed into court, but I'm definitely scheduled to be in court on Friday. So here we go. Let's go to the medical examiner. Adam Lally is essentially going to get sunk here. I've already sped up so we don't have to hear the painfulness of Adam Lally. Let's go right to Liz and see the questions that she had for the medical.
Yesterday in your testimony, you indicated that the skull was a pretty thick bone. Is that correct?
Yes. Sustained.
With regards to the thickness of the skull bone, what if any significance, or what if anything you say as far as the type or amount of force that would be necessary to cause the fracture that you observed?
Objection. Overruled. I would consider the amount of force to be significant, again, without being able to quantify it.
I have a moment, John.
Yes.
Done.
Now, doctor, from the internal and external
I thought I had the
examination
right spot. I appreciate
that you conducted in regards to
up here.
Mr. O'Keefe, as well as the other materials that you reviewed, were you able to come to an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause of death of John?
Yes, the cause of death was due to blunt impact injuries of the head and hypothermia.
That's what I wanted to
Thank
hear.
you, doctor.
Okay. Here we go, Liz.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Right?
That's what I wanted to get
Cross-examination.
out there so we could hear that.
Good morning, Dr. Spartibello.
Good morning.
Ms. Little, keep your voice up.
Absolutely. You testified regarding a number of injuries that you referred to as blunt impact injuries, correct?
Yes,
And to be clear, blunt impact injuries are a very, very large category that includes contusions, lacerations, abrasions, and fractures.
correct.
And you've testified similarly that a blunt object can also refer to a large range of objects. Is that right?
Correct.
And I think yesterday you gave the example of a microphone being a blunt object.
Correct.
It could also
Let's get to this really quick. Shannon, thank you for the $2. There's so much to say about the respect I have for the medical examiner. Absolutely. You know, I thought she was going to fold. I think that she wanted to say more. But the defense got what they needed out of her and said that it was a possibility that these injuries to John could be from a fight. And it just cast that into the jurors' minds. Captain Skidmarks, the funniest name in here in the chat. You're always in here. I appreciate the support. You're a member. You've been in here, I think, for quite a while here watching the Karen Reed trial with us. And he says, we got another day of humiliation for the Norfolk DA's office. And Lally, unfortunately, justice will not come easy for Officer John O'Keefe. Keep up the great work, Brian. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I absolutely agree with you. This is not going to be easy to get justice for John after all of this is said and done and Karen Reed is acquitted of all this bullshit. Because the bottom line is, because the poor handling of the scene, on purpose, by the way, we've lost a lot of the evidence that would help in this case, if a case is brought forth. And again, we don't know what the FBI is going to do. They may have just come to a conclusion with all of their reports, turned it over and said, here, you do what you need to do with this. But hopefully there's repercussions after this trial is over when Karen Reed walks out and is not guilty and is acquitted of these charges. I would hope that someone's going to do something. We know indefinitely Michael Proctor is gone. That guy's a dirty cop. Pretty disgusting cop, if that. And I've talked about this before. The things that Michael Proctor said about Karen Reed in this case, I'm guarantee you, the buck does not stop there. He's done this over and over and over again with his little cronies and his superiors, and have talked about potential witnesses, potential crime scenes, people that may be involved in a case, potential suspects. I guarantee you those conversations happened in previous cases as well. This is not just the first time this guy has done this, and he needs to be fired and he needs to be erased and gone, never to ever serve in law enforcement ever again. Because if you have someone like that in your unit, on your force, he is going to, be very impressionable on other people. You don't want someone like that in your department. You don't want someone like that in your force. So he needs to be gone and completely erased from any type of law enforcement. We don't need to see him anymore. He's gone. Let me just go up here. Just saw another chat come in. Johnny O, thank you so much. I saw you on Twitter earlier. Instagram earlier, said that you will be in the chat. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And you said, happy Defense Day, Brian. 2 beers on me. I don't drink, but I will kick back 25% to Karen Reed. And thank you so much. I appreciate that support. All right, let's get to the ME.
also include something like a baseball bat,
Correct.
a dumbbell,
Could be.
the ground,
Yes.
or a German Shepherd's claws.
Claws. Possibly, yes.
You'd agree that John O'Keefe had a number of blunt impact injuries on his face, on his head, and his right arm.
Yes.
besides his right arm, which we'll discuss in a second, taking his body from the neck down, he did not have any significant injuries.
From the neck down, not significant, no.
Let's take those one at a time. No injury whatsoever to his shoulders.
Correct.
No injuries whatsoever to his chest area, aside from sort of the CPR-related injuries that you discussed.
Yes, correct.
And that was in the sternum, is that right?
It was in the ribs, just adjacent to the sternum, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No
100%.
injuries to his torso, other than that.
No,
No injuries to his back.
no,
No injuries to his hips.
correct,
No injuries to his pelvis.
correct.
No injuries to his thighs.
To his,
Thighs.
no,
No injuries to his knees.
correct,
No injuries to his shins.
correct,
No injuries to his ankles.
correct,
No injuries to
No
his feet.
injuries to his feet.
correct.
If you
From the
want to
neck
go even
down, he did-
deeper, how about no injuries to his toes? I'm wondering here, all the people that have been against Karen Reed and all their theories, like Plevin, you just got this confirmed by the medical examiner. This crushes your theory that her SUV essentially crushed John O'Keefe. I don't know. I mean, I would think that a 7,000-pound SUV traveling at 24.2 miles an hour and hitting someone would cause devastating lower body injuries. Medical examiner just confirmed none of that happened. There's no injuries below the neck, with the exception of a small abrasion on the knee.
Did not have a
You play
single broken bone, again, aside from those CPR-related injuries you discussed, correct?
That's correct.
Not a single fracture.
Other than CPR, correct.
And you spoke earlier about how the bumper was a little higher than on, say, a regular sedan, correct?
Correct.
And so usually in a pedestrian collision, you would see injuries to the knees. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Depending on the kind of car, depending on the speed, depending on the height of the individual and the car, you might see injuries to their lower extremity. Yeah.
But in this case, you didn't see any injuries to his thighs, to his pelvis, anything even at the height of the bumper. Is that correct?
Correct. At a very minor abrasion to the side of his right knee.
So surely you'd agree that John O'Keefe's injuries, or lack thereof, are inconsistent with having been struck by a 7,000-pound vehicle at 24 miles per hour and being projected 30 feet.
Objection.
Sustained.
Not the pirouette.
Write it down, ask it to.
We forgot the
Would you
pirouette.
agree that John O'Keefe's injuries, or lack thereof, are inconsistent with having been struck by a vehicle at 24 miles per hour?
I would say it's likely and unlikely at the same time, depending on the position of the body and the vehicle in question.
Well, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say the person were standing with their arm like this, and they were struck by the rear taillight of a vehicle.
Kennedy Kate, Kevin just wants a channel for viewers, so he took the offense. He was a Karen Reed supporter until he was not, TB, so he started his own thing. You know, the funny thing is, Plevin's been on Court TV for the last 7 or 8 weeks, and I'm sure he'll probably continue all the way through. I had the opportunity actually to meet him in person. He was pleasant when I met him. He was very nice to me. He came up and said, "Hey, I heard about that." Oh, my voice cracked. Oh, I heard that you just built a studio. Fantastic job. Congratulations. Good luck to you. So, look, he was nice to me in person. I don't agree with his view. A lot of his views are pretty dumb, at least to say. I mean, he's locked up with Jennifer Coffindaffer for some reason, and she's out there trying to resurrect her career to try to become this big YouTuber. You don't really see her much on any other shows anymore. I haven't even seen her on News Nation doing her bit about Karen Reed. I haven't even seen that. I mean, maybe I've missed it, but you know, they're kind of lock in step, and they're going to hang out and keep pulling this agenda that, you know, Karen Reed is filthy, dirty, and so guilty in this. You know, we saw his ridiculous reconstruction of the accident scene that they literally played on court TV. That was almost laughable. It was almost insulting to real digital reconstructionists that do this type of thing for a living. But listen, you know, I guess my point in all of this is you watch the channels that are actually like free Karen Reed channels, and then you watch the channels that are, you know, against Karen Reed. You look at like their subscriber counts and their chat counts with the people. It's like people come here to watch the free Karen Reed people, and they're not overwatching the people that are against Karen. So, you know, it's interesting to see that. But anyway, let's keep moving on with the
24 miles per hour. Would you agree that his injuries are inconsistent with that scenario?
Objection.
Sustain.
May we approach, Your Honor?
All right, we're gonna speed this up for time.
If I could show you. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just want to let everybody know we are probably going to see
Show Mr. Lally.
injury photos.
Do you recognize that photograph?
I do.
And is that a photograph that was taken in connection with your autopsy?
Yes, it was taken at the time of autopsy after the face was cleaned.
Move to admit.
I'm sorry, after what?
The face was cleaned up.
Okay.
I move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Exhibit 650.
Permission to publish?
Yes.
Let's speed up some time here.
Are these the facial injuries that you were testifying to earlier?
Yes.
And could you kind of describe in that photograph what injuries you observed to his face?
The orbital ecchymosis on both eyes, the small laceration to the right eyelid, the abrasions on the nose.
And you testified that the injuries to his face were also the result of a blunt force trauma.
Correct.
So that's the laceration to the eye and the two abrasions that we see there on his nose.
Welcome in.
Correct.
And you agree that those injuries don't
Thanks
just
for being
manifest out of nowhere, right?
Absolutely.
They have to originate from something.
Yes.
Would you agree that his injuries to his face are consistent with having been punched?
You're finally wanting to come
That
in here?
is a possibility.
You're finally wanting to come in here? I've been asking you for the whole trial. I said I wouldn't even put you on camera. I just want to put you on mic and have a conversation with me. Because we, like, my girlfriend and I have some really deep conversations about this case. And I think it's some of the most spontaneous conversations. Like, we'll go over to her house, we'll start watching, because we're going through Breaking Bad right now. She hasn't seen it, and I've had her hooked on it. But I've literally been saying, like, babe, when we sit on the couch and we have these conversations about the testimony, I'm like, just come into the studio and sit. I won't even put you on camera, just voice. And you can sit right here. We can talk about it. And I think people will love it. But now she's saying that she wants to come in here. So you're welcome to come in here. It's nice and cool in here now. We can have like a great conversation. So we can make a series out of it. I've been saying this for weeks. But anyway, we'll keep playing on the medical examiner here. Observer. Yeah, right.
You can take that down, Mr. Bates. Thank you. Your internal examination notes also cite a tongue laceration on the right front of the victim's tongue. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you'd agree that a tongue laceration can be also caused by blunt force trauma.
Correct.
And that could also include
Take it under
something like a
advisement.
punch to the victim's face or jaw.
That's a possibility.
In addition to the facial injuries, you described that
You realize this is kind of like this was part of the package deal, right? That you knew he knew I was going to do this. Well, actually, she did. She found me the studio, which I've been very thankful for because I'm in such a great place. And I literally could spend the rest of my life in this room. I love it. Absolutely love being here. And, it's funny. I actually texted her and I said, I feel like I'm on fire tonight. And she's like, it's because you're back in the studio. I just feel like I'm myself. When I'm in my bedroom, I just feel completely out of place. But when I'm here, I'm focused, and things just come out a lot more naturally. But anyway, I digress.
Mr. O'Keefe had a significant laceration on the back of his head.
He had one laceration to the back of his head, correct?
I believe we saw a photograph of that a little bit earlier. You testified that the skin around the laceration on the back of his head was also scratched. Do you recall
Yes.
that?
I do.
But you did not testify as to how you opined that might have happened.
No.
Would you agree that someone could certainly get scratched on the back of their head if they were, for instance, dragged on the ground?
It's possible.
Oh, there you go. It's possible.
You described the open wound to the back of his head as a laceration, which is sort of a blunt force injury that's not the result of sharp force trauma. Is that right?
Yes.
And you'd agree that Mr. O'Keefe's head injury came from some sort of blow to the back of the head, whether it be an object or the ground. Is that right?
Yes.
Objection.
7 1-month member using that highlight. I appreciate that. Says, thanks for always keeping it real and great audio, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. It's much better in here than it is at my house. Like I said, we'll be getting some other cameras set up this week, and I need to get like a live guest in here. I'm itching to do it. And I'm going to have a nice signature board on the wall right behind the guests. So when they come in, they can sign it. We'll keep that sucker running, and it's going to be really cool. All right, let's keep playing. Thank you.
And that injury could be the result of falling backward from a standing position onto concrete.
It's possible.
I hate the chair.
It could also be the result of being struck with a large object such as a baseball bat or a barbell.
It's possible.
In other words, it was an irregular laceration that resulted from some blunt force trauma.
Correct.
I'd like to sort of circle back to those injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm. You testified that there were, again, no fractures, no broken bones, no significant contusions.
Correct.
But you did describe the wounds to Mr. O'Keefe's arm as having discrete linear abrasions, which were caused by some sort of blunt object, correct?
Yes.
What does discrete mean?
It means each one is an individual injury, as opposed to confluent, where it would be all meshed together.
Your Honor, if I could publish what's been previously marked as Exhibit 19.
Okay.
And these are sort of the linear wounds that you're referring to.
All right, we're going to
Yes.
see this.
And you testified that
Gendarme.
these also sort of appear in clusters or groups. You call
Yes.
them pattern abrasions. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
We're going to talk more about this tonight.
And
I
you'd
want
agree
to.
that, for example,
explore this a little
road
more.
rash does not result in this type of discrete linear wounds.
It could, but not exactly like this.
Well, typically road rash covers sort of a large area of the skin. It would be a large abrasion. I mean, you've seen numerous cases of road rash in your
Yes.
career. And it doesn't look like that.
Correct.
Blunt force trauma can include injuries from
Allison,
various
thank you for your
objects,
membership.
as you
Add 5 to
testified,
the total,
including
please.
an animal claw, correct?
Correct.
And you'd agree that these discrete linear abrasions are
Excuse me.
inconsistent with having been struck by a smooth rear tail light at 24 miles per hour.
Objection.
Can you answer that, doctor?
I can't. By
Okay.
a smooth, no.
All right, next question.
By a smooth rear tail light, you said that is not what you would see at 24 miles per hour, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
As you testified earlier, you've indicated that based on the facts that were presented to you, you don't know what caused those significant scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm.
I do not.
May I approach, Your Honor? Sure.
If I could just see what was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lally.
Speed up here for time.
Do you recognize that photograph?
I do. It's a photograph of Mr. O'Keefe's right hand.
May I mark that as next order?
Is there an objection?
May we approach?
Okay.
Okay. Sidebar, of course. Gonna challenge this all the way. Speed up for time. Jeez. I heard that she's going to do civil cases after this, Tim. That's what I heard. Eddie, thank you for becoming a new member. We'll add 5 to the total. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's just speed up for time here. Let's go to
1, 2, 3. That might be 1 together. But yes, I can see how you would say 4.
And you testified yesterday that there was also an injury to Mr. O'Keefe's left hand.
There was a vague contusion on his left hand, correct?
You were asked by Mr. Lally.
Can we take this down now, Ms. Little?
Yes, Your Honor. You testified on direct examination that you didn't see any sort of obvious signs of the fight because Mr. O'Keefe's fingernails were intact and you didn't observe any fractures on his hands. Is that right?
Correct.
But broken fingernails and fractured hands aren't the only observable signs.
again, here we go with YouTube limiting to the monetization on this video because we're watching a court trial. I mean, listen, I understand the injuries are bad. Okay. We don't want to see the injuries, but there's so much stuff that's all over YouTube that literally keeps this monetization. I mean, we're watching a court trial. We're watching testimony. This is nothing that we're doing that's, done purposefully. We're watching this for education, to educate ourselves what's going on in a trial. And you bang us out on monetization all the time. This is why we get very frustrated on this platform. You have people that are talking about vile shit and showing vile shit on here, worse than some of the things that I even want to talk about. And those channels are still up and they're monetized and they make money. But here we are educating ourselves, watching a trial. This is literally something that you can go and be a public member and walk into a courtroom if you can get in there and watch this. This is being broadcast around the world. And you bang us on monetization all the time. I can't stand this platform. It needs to change. It's getting annoying. It's getting annoying. Just like the other day when we had the Trooper Proctor testimony. All those is educational purposes. All those videos that I made on that demonetized because I played the testimony. This is public. We have every right to watch this. It's very annoying. I'm sorry. I'm going off a little bit here, but very, very annoying. Super annoying. This platform needs to change. It's just unbelievable. Matthew, thank you so much for the 1999. It says LTL was following your coverage today, and I was right there with you on your open heart, emotional, beautiful statement. You will be watched after all is done. Yeah, I appreciate that. I had a moment today of just pure emotion that kind of poured out and came out, and I just felt like it needed to be said. It was just a moment. And I was explaining earlier, if you all didn't see that there's a lot of stress and anxiety now around this case because we're coming to the end. And, we don't know what the jury's going to think. We hope we know what the jury's going to think. We know this case, but they've only been exposed to it for 8 weeks at this point. So, I mean, we've been looking at this for a year. So we know the ins and outs of the case. They only have what's been presented to them in court. So they can only make that determination off the evidence that's presented in front of them. And hopefully that is in the favor of Karen Read. But yeah, you know, it was something that was just straight from the heart and just needed to be said. You know, it just needed to be said at that specific point because that's how I was feeling. I'm not afraid to show my emotions. It's one thing that you will find out about me. I'm very outspoken. I'm very emotional. I'm going to put it out there. I'm not afraid to cry in front of people. I'm not afraid to let that come out. I know that some people would say, oh, you're soft, you're this and that, but that's who I am. You know, I have a fucking heart and I wear it on my sleeve. I have a big heart and I wear it on my sleeve. Sometimes way too big of a heart and I get walked over a lot, but that's just who I am, you know? And I said that I wanted to start this channel so if I could help some people out there, either to educate or advocate for them, it's what I wanted to do and just have purposeful, meaningful conversations in life, in everyday life. So if you didn't get the opportunity to see that, you can go back and watch it on my earlier stream. So let's go here. I saw another chat come in really quick. Ellen, thank you for the 10. Maybe it's time to move to Rumble. If enough people leave YouTube, they will get the message. It's never going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, YouTube is the dominant platform. It probably always will be. The problem with Rumble, it's very political over there. So if you're not a political commentator, you're not going to get any traction. Case example, Turtle Boy, I know he streams to Rumble and he calls out his Rumble rats. He only has like 200 people that view him over there. When he clearly on YouTube, he's got like 10,000 people that are watching him. It's just never going to happen. And the Rumble platform, I'm going to tell you right now, is awful for a creator. It's terrible. So unfortunately, it's all we have. It's all we have. Maybe X can step up to the game. They're trying something with the live streaming over there. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to trial testimony. We have a lot to get through. Britt, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. We'll add $5 there to the total, and we'll kick back all of this 25% back to Karen Read because she needs us tonight. She needs us tonight. And, you know, we are winding down here pretty soon. All right, here, let's go back to the ME, and then we're going to get into, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. I'm trying to get through it. I know I've been talking a lot, but.
Of a fight. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
In fact, you noted a laceration over his eye.
Yes.
You noticed multiple lacerations on his nose.
Abrasions on his nose. Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Multiple abrasions on his nose.
Correct.
You noticed a laceration to his tongue.
Yes.
You noted the contusions on the back of his right hand.
Correct.
The injury, the contusion to his left hand as well.
Correct.
And as you just testified, bruising on the back of hands may be consistent with defensive wounds.
It could be.
So in fact, if you have a body that presents with a laceration to one of the brows,
Like this.
a laceration or abrasions to the nose, an egg over an eye, contusions and abrasions on the hands.
That's a fight.
And a laceration to the tongue. These injuries are consistent with a physical altercation, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are those injuries consistent with a physical altercation?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Now, let's speed up here for time purposes. I want to get to Lucky and I want to get to a few other witnesses today. Audrey, thank you for the 10. Says, you are the best, my favorite person to watch during this trial, and I will continue to follow after this trial. Love your views and passion for justice. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I didn't know that this is the way that we're going to land on the channel. I don't know. You know, I just want to advocate for some people and help them out, you know, and especially Karen Read, because she should not be here in this position. And we have other things that we will move on to.
You are unmuted.
This trial's concluded.
Shifting gears for a second.
Rally. Humming. All right, let me do this real quick. Ellen, thank you so much. Elaine, thank you so much. I thought it was Ellen. Elaine, thank you so much. $50 super chat. Any chance the defense or feds have the geofencing for 34 Fairview that night? My honor to support Karen. Thank you so much. I would think maybe the Archer guys. Well, actually, it's not their It's not what they do. I want to say there's another expert that's supposed to be testifying, and the name has slipped me because there's been so many names, but I think that is their expert. So we'll have to see. They're expert. But I would think, I mean, pretty much put all of that together today during Richard Green's testimony. I know he didn't use geofencing, but essentially was placing people where they were at certain times according to the cell phone extractions. So we'll move on here.
You indicated on direct examination that you reviewed some
Yes,
photographs from law enforcement that showed no footprints in the snow. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
Were those provided to you by Trooper Proctor?
Yes.
Do you have those photographs with you?
No, I don't.
Do you recall what was depicted in those photographs?
Yes. If I remember correctly, it was the area of the fire hydrant and the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was discovered. It's the front of the house, the area of the fire hydrant, and I believe the flagpole.
Thank you. You testified that Mr. O'Keefe had multiple fractures to his skull, but that they seem to be originating from a single point of impact on the back of his head. Is that correct?
It appeared so, yes.
Are you reasonably certain that all of his injuries were the result of a single impact to the back of the head?
It could be a single impact.
But it also could be multiple impacts, correct?
It could.
Real quick, Kim, thank you so much for $31 Aussie. Aussies love watching us here. Seeing Paul O'Keefe stare at Karen again in your last clip is so uncomfortable. I know the O'Keefes are grieving, but so is Karen. It's very sad for all of them, but staring at her isn't going to bring justice to his brother. I agree. I agree. And it's tough for everybody. Kathleen, thanks for becoming a new member. I appreciate that. And I think I have some cash apps that came in too. Let's get to those and add those to the total. Let's see. Ryan, thank you so much for the 25. A little something for you and the studio. So we'll add that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for being an awesome moderator. And thank you for supporting the channel and supporting me. You've been here for a long time. And we have conversations offline, and it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and your humor. And we have some really deep conversations, and you're always insightful. So I consider you a friend that I've met through this channel and through everything that we've been doing here. Shauna, thank you so much for the 20s. It's great coverage in support of Karen. Thanks for all that you do. Well, thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for supporting me and Karen. I appreciate it. Paul, how are you? Good to see you in the chat, brother. I got to have you in the studio here soon. Have a conversation about Karen Reed. All right, let's go. I got a lot to get to. Let's start trying to get through some of this.
Because as you just testified, Mr. O'Keefe suffered multiple injuries to the front of his face as well.
Correct.
In other words, he could have suffered a trauma to the face and then fallen and sustained the injury to the back of the head, correct?
That is possible, yes.
And you testified before the state grand jury that the areas of bruising to the brain were likely due to a fall. Is that correct?
Yes.
In your expert medical opinion, is it possible for someone to get punched in the face hard enough to lose consciousness and fall backward?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
If I can have one more.
Sure.
Couple more minutes here with the ME. I'm not going to go back to recross. We'll move on to Brian.
May I see the exhibits that were just marked, Your Honor?
Paul says Liza was the third attorney. We didn't know.
Your Honor, if I could have permission to
Didn't know
publish
we
what's been
needed
previously admitted as Exhibit 19.
making.
Yes.
I saw that I think it was either Aiden or Microdots put out a tweet. Actually, I think it was Microdots put out a tweet about Liza saying that she's done an exemplary amount of work for Karen behind the scenes, you know, stuff that we wouldn't even know about, that she's brought forward in this case, and has gotten really close to Karen. So that's really nice to hear. I mean, these people really care about their client. And I think they're feeling the same emotions we're all going through right now. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, and I know it is for me. Certainly for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of you out there. And like I said, I talked about that earlier in my earlier show this afternoon.
Dr. Squirty-Bell, it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but there's some redness that you observe on the body by the ribs that we observed in some of the other photographs that were presented by Mr. Lally.
Let me just speed this up a little bit. I really want to get to Brian in here a little bit.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to show you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 648. Ms. Gilman, would it be, Mr. Bates, could you take that down? Yeah. Ms. Gilman, would it be possible to display Exhibit 648? 648. Number. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's 2853. Thank you. Dr. Squirty-Bell, you were shown this photograph by Mr. Lally on direct examination.
Yes.
Do you see the redness sort of next to his rib cage on the bottom?
Yes, it's the lividity part.
Yes.
What is that?
That is liver.
Lividity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury what lividity is?
Yes. Lividity is the pooling of blood to the dependent areas of the body after someone is deceased.
So even though it sort of appears to look like a bruise, that's lividity, correct?
That is lividity. Yes. It goes all the way down.
And it's not the result of an injury.
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
not
the
going to
light-
listen to Lally cross. I just want to get that in. And essentially, we got confirmation today that the injuries to John O'Keefe possibly could be to a fight in this expert medical examiner's opinion. So cast a lot of reasonable doubt there and holds with the defense's theory. So, all right, let's get to Brian Lucky Lotrin. Let me just pull that tab up. Thank you all for being here. Just do me a quick favor. Smash that like button. Really need you to smash that like button. It's important. Let's see. Where am I? Okay, that's that tab. That's not the tab I want. I want this tab. Because I want to get to at least 1,000 likes on this video tonight, so we can keep kicking it out into that evil algorithm. All right, let's listen to Brian.
All right. So, Mr. Jackson, yesterday you told me you would like 10 minutes for your
This is the motion to dismiss
argument. I'll hear you now.
first.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm just going to double time this. Though.
Your Honor, I'll be brief. The court must consider, after viewing the evidence in light most favorable to the Commonwealth, whether a rational jury can find the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. And here, the case that the Commonwealth has submitted to the jury after resting is insufficient to meet such a finding. There's no question that with this particular prosecution in this particular case, no reasonable or rational jury could come to a unanimous verdict in favor of the Commonwealth.
Real quick, I just want to pause this. So I talked about this, and the good thing wasn't in front of the jury, but the good thing about this, it's on the record. So this is on the record. So God forbid we have to go to any type of appeal situation. At least Jackson got this on the record before they started their case.
If I can, focus my argument on count 1, 2, and 3 and a specific element of each count.
Okay.
In each one of those counts, there must be evidence that the vehicle killed John O'Keefe. There has been no competent evidence presented in the Commonwealth's case
Thank you, Gigi.
that Karen Reed's vehicle actually struck John O'Keefe. There's been conjecture, there's been speculation, but no actual competent evidence.
Thanks for
The
coming.
Commonwealth's entire case relies on a theory built on the shoulders of a trooper named Joe Paul, who testified a couple of days ago. And his theory, according to the Commonwealth, is that John O'Keefe's arm was struck, he was spun around in sort of a pirouette, he was projected 30 feet to the left, hit his head on a curb or the road in the intervening time before coming to a final rest spot about 30 feet away. Everything in the Commonwealth's case, everything relies on that theory of damage to the taillight at the scene. If a rational jury could not unanimously determine that Trooper Joe Paul's theory is true beyond a reasonable doubt, then we believe the motion has to be granted. There is no competent medical evidence to support that theory. There's no competent physical evidence that the taillight could break and shatter in the way that they've suggested, and that the arm would not have any breaks or shatters or any damage, any additional damage. There's no evidence how getting hit in the arm could actually launch a body 30 feet, as per the Commonwealth's theory. And there's no evidence how a body hit by a 7,000-pound SUV could sustain no injuries from the neck down, which we just heard this morning. The evidence before the court, the only evidence that is before the court, is that the Commonwealth's own medical examiner does not believe this is a homicide. And she went on this morning to say that in her expert opinion, the injuries are not classic pedestrian injuries, and they are, every single one of them, consistent with a physical altercation. Calling a witness to simply espouse an opinion like Trooper Paul did that belies science, common sense, or even logic, that's not enough to get the case to the jury. The light most favorable to the...
Allison, I just got your email, and I have to say, if you came up with that graphic, that is very impressive. And I wish I could pull it up, but sometimes my email box on my computer doesn't want to pull up. I want to pull this image up, but I have no way of getting it to my screen right now. Maybe I can hold this up, and please, this is impressive, and hopefully you all can see this. But I can't open my email box on my computer. Shit, I don't think it's going to happen. But look at how impressive that is. And it says, "I love Lucky Lotgren," and it has a picture of the... That is impressive. We need to speak about possibly doing some graphics for LTL Media, and we need to have a conversation because that's very impressive. I wish you all could see the detail in this, but maybe I'll post it up later after the show when I can get into my email box on the computer. This is impressive. She said it took her a few minutes to do it. This is impressive. You're a great digital artist, by the way. Very, very good stuff. And thank you for sharing that. But I'll post it up after the show so you all can see it. All right, let's keep playing through here.
To the Commonwealth does not mean that the court must believe the Commonwealth's witnesses. What it means is that if there is a rational controversy in the evidence, the court must accept that evidence that favors the Commonwealth. But here, there is no rational controversy. As put or expressed in Commonwealth versus McCormick, it's a 2023 case found at 491 Mass 848, pinpoint site 860, quote, "Where the Commonwealth's evidence is entirely circumstantial,
look at
it cannot be
I just noticed this.
If the evidence,
I just noticed this. Karen's mom is wearing green today. I just noticed that. How did I not see that? She's wearing green today for Lucky. That's excellent. That's a nice touch. That's great. Nikki Johnson chiming in with a 10. Thank you. Said highly encourage anyone to listen to Dr. Russell and found her as intriguing as I did to Google LA Times Marie Russell. Wow, what a trailblazer. I completely agree. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll add that to the total. All right, let's get
equally supports inconsistent propositions, as resolution of such a case necessarily requires conjecture or surmise.
I think it's for Lucky.
In our view, there is no question that there's no rational controversy related to the Commonwealth's theory. Trooper Paul's theory is by definition not rational. It's not reasonable. And it's basically based entirely on conjecture. And that's why, in our view, the court is required to find Ms. Reed not guilty of counts 1, 2, and 3. It's because each of the counts, as I said at the beginning, necessarily include an element that John O'Keefe was struck by Karen Reed's vehicle. Thus, if a rational jury cannot reasonably believe Trooper Paul's theory, it's the only evidence presented by the Commonwealth describing how Mr. O'Keefe possibly could have been struck, then Ms. Reed is entitled to an acquittal. Nothing else matters. Nothing else in the court's evaluation, nothing else in the jury's evaluation, nothing. Everything turns on whether or not the car hit John O'Keefe. And the Commonwealth's only theory of how that happened is from Trooper Paul's description. If the court were to deny this motion, then by doing so tacitly, the court is expressly endorsing Trooper Paul's theory of how John O'Keefe was struck, and we don't believe that that's rational. We don't believe that any rational jury would ever unanimously agree with Trooper Paul, and thus we ask the court to find Ms. Reed not guilty at this time.
Okay.
I'll submit.
I have to say this, and really quick, I just looked. YouTube, you gave me the monetization back on this video. I'm going to play and show the arm injuries later in this video. Do not demonetize me again. I'm getting tired of it. All right, let's listen to Lunchbox Lally's lollygag.
If I may just, we have a written motion.
Okay. All right, I will hear you, Mr. Lally.
Does this guy look defeated today or what?
Yes, Your Honor, surprisingly, I would disagree with counsel's
So let's leave the comments out.
Your Honor, as far as the comments, all I was going to say is that I would submit to the court
Is
that,
this surprisingly that I took issue?
and my apologies, what I would submit to the court, Your Honor, is that this case does not rest and fall with the testimony of Trooper Paul. Trooper Paul's testimony, while important, when taken in conjunction with the remainder of all of the other witnesses and all of the other testimony that the court has heard, I don't want to minimize it, but at the same time, that is not the only evidence that the vehicle struck Mr. O'Keefe or interacted with Mr. O'Keefe. So what the court has, as far as the physical evidence, next to Mr. O'Keefe's body, one sneaker in the location of Kurt, the glass, drinking glass of Mr. O'Keefe is seen walking out of the Waterfall Bar at approximately 12:11 a.m. with that is in the vicinity.
We heard all
police
this.
officers actually recover it early in the morning.
He's literally going through the entire case again. Why do we need to hear this from him? She should have literally just shut him up and said, get to the point. We've already heard all this. He's literally going to outline the whole case again. This is ridiculous. This is even being allowed.
On January 29th, you have the microscopic pieces of the defendant's taillight, which was testified by Ms. Hanley to be consistent with pieces of the taillight on the defendant's vehicle that are within or embedded within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. You have the remainder of the pieces of taillight, and this part is important in relation to Paul's testimony as far as the linear momentum is all in the same sort of direction and path of all of the roadway evidence that he observed as discovered in and around the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. The testimony from Ms. Lear, with reference to all of those taillight pieces and how they were able to reconstruct front pieces that were found on the ground and then put back together, matching with that, but the taillight housing from the defendant's vehicle. The taillight housing from the defendant's vehicle, which has the victim's, Mr. O'Keefe's DNA contained on it, as well as the mitochondrial DNA testing of hair that was on the rear right quarter panel of the defendant's vehicle, which also was matched or consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe's his mitochondrial DNA, as well as what heard from his chart from Bowie Technology. You have the plethora of testimony from the various civilian witnesses from that particular night. You have the evidence of motive from text communications, as well as the testimony of children in this case, as to the state of their relationship from the defendant's own mouth in those text communications and in those voicemails as to the state of their relationship. You have the testimony in regard to Mr. O'Keefe and his recounting of the state of their relationship and his numerous attempts to break it off with Ms. Reed prior to that date. There are arguments that continued throughout the afternoon of the 28th. And seemingly into the 29th, you have the defendant's own statements that I hit him, that come from multiple sources, including firefighter Nuttall, firefighter Famati, firefighter McLaughlin, and Mr. Cade. You have her statements to the paramedics in the back of the ambulance that the last time that she saw Mr. O'Keefe, they got into an argument. You have the testimony in regard to Ms. Roberts and Mr. McCabe as far as the altercation or the verbal arguments stemming from Ms. McCabe's reference of Bella's mother being a landmark, being someone Mr. O'Keefe used to date just prior to that argument occurring in front of the house at 34 Fairview Road. With each and every piece of evidence that was presented throughout the course of the Commonwealth's case, including the forensic evidence, including especially one thing I would stress to the court is taking not only Trooper Paul's testimony, but Trooper Paul's testimony in juxtaposition to Trooper Dorino's testimony as far as the vehicle or the native GPS locations of Mr. O'Keefe's phone in reference to the timing and in particular the information or data from the Toyota detection. Trooper Dorino's GPS native location of Mr. O'Keefe's phone has that reversal, the same 3-point turn that Trooper Paul testified about, which occurs 8 minutes prior to the vehicle traveling 24.2 miles per hour for approximately 62 feet in a straight line in reverse. And as far as the testimony and the evidence that the court has before it, the court also has those backup testing videos that Trooper Paul conducted with the defense vehicle. So the court can see exactly what that vehicle looks like at approximately 25 miles per hour in reverse in a straight line.
Oh, I know.
I would submit, Your Honor, that
the expert reconstruction of backing up is the most pitiful videos that I've ever seen in my entire life.
There's more than sufficient evidence from a medical perspective, from a forensic perspective, from a witness perspective, and from the investigation of this case, as to all three indictments.
Make it stop.
Particularly under the standard before the court
Make
at this
it
time.
stop.
And for those reasons, I would request that the defendant's motion be denied.
Okay. In the light most favorable to the Commonwealth under the prevailing Lattimore standard here in Massachusetts, I am satisfied the Commonwealth has met its burden. The defendant's motion is denied. So, Mr. Yannetti, are you calling your
Not
first
surprised.
witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's bring the jurors in, please.
Go up, sir.
Canton, Mass.
Is that where you live?
Yes.
How long have you lived there?
Be right back.
Both 35, 36 years.
And did you go to Canton Public Schools?
Yes.
Now, in the course of living in Canton, were you familiar with the Albert family?
Yes.
Which members of the Albert family were you familiar with?
All of them.
And when you say all of them, can you name the ones that you were familiar with?
I was familiar with Brian,
Brian Albert?
Chris Albert, Brendan Albert, Kevin Albert, and I believe Kathy Albert is the sister, but I'm not 100% sure on her first name.
Okay, and those are the siblings that you had contact with and were familiar with?
Yes.
Did you know some better than others?
Yes.
Whom did you know the best?
Chris Albert.
What is the age difference between you and Chris Albert?
I believe we're the same age.
Did you graduate high school with him?
He went to a different high school, but
Okay.
yes,
Graduated at the same time.
correct.
And with regard to your familiarity with Chris Albert, can you explain to the jury how you became familiar with him and what your relationship with him has been?
I went to school with him, elementary school. We went to middle school. Then he transferred to a Catholic school. Then later in years, I began to work for Chris for D&E Pizza, delivering
Feel
pizzas.
bad. He
Okay.
worked for
And,
D&E Pizza.
Approximately what ages were you when you were delivering pizzas for D&E Pizza and Chris Albert?
I'm just gonna
I
speed
was
up and get
25, 26 years old on our route.
Okay. And who gives those instructions back in January of 2022?
The supervisor for Canton DPW,
And who was that at the time?
William Walsh.
Also known as Billy Walsh?
Yes.
Now, when were you called in to do plowing that evening or early morning?
We were told to be in by 2:30
I know her
And
locker, right?
is that 2:30 a.m. or p.m.?
a.m.
Would that now be on January 29th?
Correct.
So what time did you arrive at the DPW that early
You're
morning?
welcome.
About 2:15.
When you got there, what did you need to do in order to go out plowing?
I needed to get into my truck and get that.
This guy has no agenda. He's just going to tell it like it is. He's just telling it like it is. He has no agenda. He just wants to do his job.
Prepared to go out.
All right, and your truck, is there one that's specifically assigned to you when you plow?
Yes.
And does that truck have any particular nickname?
Yes, it's called the Franken truck.
The Franken truck. I
And why
love
is it called the Franken truck?
It is a truck that has a lot of different parts than what it's required. It's not parts that were made for
He
that
does,
specific
Allison.
truck.
He so does.
An older one?
Yes, it was a truck that was very uncomfortable at the beginning to use. So they try to make it as comfortable as possible.
All right. And that particular truck, is it used for anything else other than snow plowing?
Yes, it's used for everyday use.
Now, so you get to the DPW at 2:15, you say that you get your truck ready. What does that entail to get your truck ready, and how long does it take?
It takes about 5 minutes, but just basically you need to make sure that it's got enough gas in it. So we're not going to the route and running out of diesel fuel, which is not good. It's just basically going over the truck, making sure, you have everything you need for that night.
And do you plow alone or with someone?
By myself.
Now, with regard to the visibility in your snowplow Franken truck, can you describe that
I love
to
they call it
the jury,
Franken
what you
truck.
can see, what you can't see?
So the Franken truck has an air ride suspensions, an air ride seat. So the seat is raised so I can see over the hood
Okay.
and I can see About 5 feet on either side of the passenger side, driver's side.
And when you say 5 feet, are you talking straight out from the?
From the windshield straight out.
All right. And what, if any, lighting do you have on Franken truck?
We have marking lights. We have 2 plow lights that are situated at the corners of the trucks, and it's up high. Illuminates very well. It's very well seen.
Okay. And with the extra set.
I want to show you all something really quick. And this was from Microdots earlier today. And Lally comes back and questions Brian about being able to see the property at 34 Fairview. So I'm going to give you a video that was created by Microdots that would literally give you the firsthand look of how Lucky would have seen the property at 34 Fairview that night plowing. So let me just pull that video up really quick. This is via Microdots. And I'm going to share that with you all if you haven't seen it. It's posted on the X, the Twitter. And this is what Lucky would have seen. Here we go. And I talked about this earlier. My dad was a plow driver. My dad was an excavator, drove this type of equipment for years. And I could tell you, he could tell me everything about exterior illumination on these trucks. It's pretty accurate. Great video by Microdots, by the way. And that would have been the view that Brian Lucky Loughran would have seen. All right, let's go back to the testimony here.
The lighting that you just described, how far can you see off to the sides, in front of you, and directly in front of you?
Probably 5 feet on the sides.
Well, you already testified to that, 5 feet straight out.
Yeah.
But what about the sides going forward?
It's you know, it's hard to decide to put into words, but I can see a real long distance. That visibility is fine. It is extremely. If you gave me probably 5, 10 feet, 15 feet out, maybe even further.
Okay. And with regard to the lighting, how much light does that give off?
Enormous amounts. It's almost driving with the spotlight.
And with regard to the air ride seats, what action did you take with those that particular night?
I raised it so that the bottom of my knees would hit the steering wheel.
And what, if any, obstructions, I should say, were in front of you that would prevent you from seeing what's in front of you or to the side?
Joe, thank you so much for the 20. She says, thanks for everything. Hashtag FKR. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep going here.
Nothing.
All right. Now, do you have a specific route assigned to you?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe that route? And by the way, that specific route, was that the one that you were assigned on January 29th?
Correct.
Could you describe that for the jury?
Yes, it's a route that consists of Cedar Crest from Kings Road to Chapman Street and everything.
I tell you too, another thing that I noticed with Brian, and I pointed this out on my live earlier when I was watching the testimony live, when he's recalling events, and you can see him a couple of times here in his testimony, he's looking up and to the left. And I'm not a body language expert, but I do tend to read about these things. And they say when you look up to the left, you're pulling from memory, and that says that you're exhuming truth. You're talking, you're recalling that memory deep inside your brain, pulling it forward into the front of your brain so you can let the person that's asking that question or recalling that event in front of you. So I noticed that a couple of times about him, and I'm like, this guy's telling the truth. I mean, he has nothing to hide here. Isaiah, thank you so much for being a member. My old co-worker here, he's an awesome dude, and I always love when he comes back into work to have a conversation. By the way, it sucks there, man. I want out so bad. You wouldn't even believe the shit that I could tell you. But anyway, he says, "What's up, Brian? Love everything you do. Thanks for being here, man. Thank you for continuing to support me. And it's nice to keep friends after, their employment ends. But we've stayed in contact, and always a pleasure talking to you, bro. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for being here, man, and watching this, with us. All right, let's go.
In between, there are a lot of streets I could name if you would like, but Fairview is one, Spring Lane
That is on my list of things to
Cedar
do.
Crest, Kings Road. Those are pretty important roads that I would consider
That's the
major
main
roads
access
on
road,
my route.
and through that
All right,
neighborhood.
now,
multiple
that
times.
particular night, if you got there at 2:15, what time do you think you were on the road in Frankentruck?
I was on Cedar Crest about 2:30, 2:35.
Now, with regard to Cedar Crest,
Excuse me.
I would like to show you a map if I can. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I've handed you a document. If you could just review that to yourself and then look up at me when you're done.
He does know his route. I was very
Do you
surprised with his
recognize what's
detail.
depicted on that?
Yes,
What is it?
it is my plow route and consisting of streets that I plow.
All right, and to be fair, that's
Very,
a
very
portion of your
consistent.
plow route, right?
Correct.
There are other areas of the city that you plow?
This actually depicts my actual physical route.
Oh, okay, great. And that's a fair and accurate representation of the streets as they existed back in January of 2022?
Yes.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
AL, thank you for the 50. We'll add that to the total. And they just say a shout out to Lucky and Marie. All right, let's keep going here.
Thank you. And could I have permission to publish before the hearing?
Sure.
I read your message, but I like to be
You
transparent.
just testified.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I believe you said 2:30 to 2:35 or so?
Correct.
All right, as we look at this exhibit on the screens, are you going from right to left or left to right on Cedar Crest when you first approach Fairview?
Right to left.
Okay, so you're going sort of from the upper right-hand corner of the diagram down Cedar Crest toward Fairview. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Can you take the laser pointer and just confirm that route for the jury? That's, okay. You see that's Fairview Road? Are you able to read that right?
I'm not, to be honest with you. I'm sorry.
Do you still have that map in front of you?
So I saw some of the trolls today on Twitter, and they were coming after Lucky about this. Oh, he couldn't even see the map, but he's saying that he could, he saw a Ford Edge that night parked out front of Fairview. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, this is small writing. Let me stick you in the back of the room, and I'm sure someone with 20/20 vision would even have a hard time seeing this on the TV. I was up there. My vision's not completely 20/20, but I'm going to tell you, I was struggling to read things on that screen. I could see that the jurors, people that probably had perfect vision, or people even with glasses, were struggling to see things on that TV. I mean, for Christ's sakes, when Bukkake was up there and Alan Jackson was crossing him, there was even information up there on the screen that he couldn't even read. So, these trolls try to pick out all of these things, all these laughable things, but it's incredibly hard to see on that TV. It's not a good TV to see things on. Mother Beagles, great name, by the way. $5 says for Lucky's courage and honesty. Thank you. All right, let's keep playing this here.
Maybe that'll help you, Mr. Lally.
And actually, can I orient it so it's oriented just like that for him?
Look at this name. Mediocre chicken farm. I can't see my
That's how
photos
it's
without readers.
on the screen.
I can see the TV, not to read small print. Yeah, I mean, come on. I love that name, by the way. That's great.
And by the way, I should have asked this, but is it in terms of is it you can't read the writing or you can't really see the outline of the streets?
Both.
Okay. Well, that's not going to help much. Okay. If we can have the lights back on. With the court's permission, can I leave that up on the screen while I ask a few more questions?
Sure, except you said you can't see it.
Right. No, I know, but the jury can. So I think it would be
Haley,
helpful.
thank you so much for the 75 on cap. Wow, thank you.
You're coming down
We'll add that to
Cedar
the photo.
Crest, and would Fairview be on your left or your right when you first approach it?
When I first approach, it's on my left.
All right. Now, do you take that left at that time?
No, I do not.
Why not?
At the time, I'm pushing snow, and we don't want to block any part of the road with snow, and taking a left would have left a row of snow. So I proceed to the end of Cedar Crest, do a cul-de-sac, and then head back up Cedar Crest.
All right. So there's a cul-de-sac at the end of Cedar Crest.
Correct.
Dead end.
Yes.
And you plow that?
Yes.
All right. So then when you come back up, is Fairview on your right or your left?
It is on my right.
What do you do?
I take that right and continue to plow.
Now, are you familiar with the Albert residence on Fairview Road?
Yes.
How did you become familiar with that?
Growing up in Canton, I knew where they lived.
Can I have exhibit 66 displayed with the court's permission?
Yes.
From where you're seated now, Mr. Walker, are you able to see what's on the screen?
Yes.
And do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the Albert house, Brian Albert's.
And when you were passing the Albert home on Fairview, the
Microdot.
very first time you passed it, would it have been on your right or your left?
It would have been on my right.
What section of the road were you plowing at that point?
The middle of the road.
Why is that?
I start in the middle and I angle right with the plow.
Now, I want to direct your attention to when you were, your truck was essentially perpendicular to the driveway. You see the driveway in Exhibit 66?
Yes, I do.
When you were perpendicular to the driveway, where were your headlights pointed?
In front of me, in front of the truck,
I'm sorry?
in front of the truck.
And what were you able to see of the front lawn of the Albert residence
AC, check your
that very
phone.
first time you passed?
Just sent you a text.
I was able to see the entire front lawn.
She got it.
And about what time was it that you first passed?
Wouldn't that be awesome if I could make that happen?
About
Woo!
2:45.
That's big. That's huge.
Now, as you continued along past the driveway, did you continue to have all of those headlights on in front of you?
Yes.
And as you continued along, what were you able to see of that front lawn? How much of it?
A very large portion, almost to the front steps.
And now, when you're plowing, where is your attention focused, sir?
Rogue, it's funny that you said that. I thought in the video that he said, and then it got cut off. I heard Monday, that they might be resting on Monday. It doesn't help me because I'm going to be in court on Friday, but I have Wednesday off. So if this goes to the jury and takes a day, possibly when I'm there outside the courtroom on Wednesday, we may get the verdict, but I don't know. It could take a couple of days. We don't know what the jury is going to decide, but we'll have to see what happens here. All right, let's keep playing on.
My attention's focused in front of me and then to the sides.
Why would your attention be focused to the sides?
I am trying to be aware of any side traffic, any pedestrians, and God forbid, any animals.
And when you were passing the Albert residence, as you pass every home, what attention do you pay to the sides of the road and the lawns that are adjacent to the road?
I'm, again, making sure that there are no animals, no pedestrians, and making sure no one's coming out of their driveways, not expecting to see me.
And with regard to Exhibit 66, do you see the flagpole there?
Yes,
Is that something you had seen previously?
yes.
And when you made that first pass by that residence at 2:45 in the morning, sir, with your headlights on, what, if anything, did you see on the front lawn in the area of the flagpole?
I saw nothing.
If there had been a 6'2", 200-pound man lying in the snow there, would you have seen it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, once you pass the residence, where do you go?
I go to the end of Fairview.
And what street does that intersect with?
That intersects with Chapman Street.
We have the previous exhibit put back up with the court's permission. Sure.
What a great name, Faces of Meth. Look at this. You guys are funny. You have the best chat names in the photos. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Do you still have the exhibit oriented the same way, sir?
Yes, I do.
Incredible.
Where's Chapman Street on the exhibit? Down the bottom, the top, or which?
Down the bottom.
Okay. And when you come to the end of Fairview with Cedar Crest in your rear now, right?
Correct.
Do you take a left or a right on Chapman?
I take a left
All right.
onto
And
Chapman.
once you take that left, what do you do?
I back up and then take a left to go back down Fairview.
Okay. So you're essentially doing almost a 3-point turn in the road?
Correct.
All right. So now, do you go back down Fairview at that time?
Yes, I do.
And how far do you go down Fairview?
To the end, to Cedar Crest.
Now, at this point in time, you would also pass the Albert residence, correct?
Correct.
Would it be on your right or your left?
On my left.
Were you looking to the right and the left as you were coming down?
Yes.
How much light did your headlights illuminate of the Albert's front lawn as you were coming down from Chapman Street?
Coming down Chapman, just about the entire front lawn.
And again, with regard to that area around the flagpole, did you see anything on the lawn?
Nothing.
See a body?
No.
All right. Now, after you've done these two passes, sir, where do you go?
I then take a right on the Cedar Crest. I proceed up Spring Lane, come down Spring Lane, and then do the remaining of my route.
All right. How long did it
Thank you,
take
Pauline. I
before
appreciate you
wound
being
up
here. Thank
back
you.
At Cedar Crest and Fairview?
About 45 minutes.
So I think you had previously testified you made the first pass around 2:45.
Correct.
So would that put us at about 3:30 when you're about to make the second pass?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it different.
Sure, I'm sorry. What time was it, to your best estimate, in terms of when you would have approached Fairview and Cedar Crest again?
3:15 to 3:30.
All right. Now, when you
knows his
approach
time.
that intersection again, are you approaching it such that Fairview would be on your left or your right this time?
On my left.
Same as last time.
Correct.
What do you do when you approach Cedar Crest? I'm sorry, when you approach Fairview and it's on your left?
At that point, I have an option. I can go to the end of Cedar Crest, or I can turn around at a street,
Yep.
depending on how much snow I have on Fairview.
Guys,
And
come
with
on.
regard to the decision you made regarding that choice, what decision did you make on January 29th at 3?
Went all the way to the end.
Went all the way to the end of Cedar Crest.
Correct.
Same thing you did the first time.
Correct.
And then you come back up?
Correct.
Is Fairview on your right or your left at that time?
It would be on my right.
And did you take that right?
Yes, I did.
What, if anything, unusual did you see at that time?
At that point, I saw a Ford Edge on the side of the road.
Where was it parked on the side of the road?
It is, baby.
In front of the Albert's house,
Mic
Where
drop.
in front of the Albert's
Boom.
house?
by the flagpole.
And why was that unusual?
The Alberts never had cars that were parked out front, and if it just stuck out as
There it is.
weird.
Now, what were the snow conditions like at that point? This is now, I think you said about 3:15 to 3:30.
It's starting to accumulate a lot quicker than what it was previous.
And what policies does the DPW have regarding cars parked in the street during a blizzard?
Now, the only thing that I wish, oh, Lucky, I wish, because this would have saved us a lot of time in this case, Lucky, but I love you being there. I wish you would have just called it in and made a record of it. Oh, I was like, please tell me he called it in and this was going to be the big smoking gun for the defense, but he said he didn't call it in. And I'm like, Lucky, please, why did you do this? But he is so believable in his testimony. You can tell this man just wanted to get up and tell his story. And he has no agenda. He has no agenda. He's just a guy, a townie from Canton that wants to just do his job and tell the truth in this case. Tell this truth. I thought the smoke, Robin's saying, I know. I thought the smoking gun was coming. I'm like, they got it. They got it. But he didn't make a report. And I'm like, oh no. And it was just because he knows the Alberts. But this stuck out in his mind enough to recall and enough to go back and let people know. All right, let's keep going.
It's plowing to be done.
We are to notify the supervisor. At that point, he will make a phone call to the police, and depending on if they can have the resident move it, it gets moved. If not, it gets towed.
And with regard to that policy, did you comply with that policy in those early morning hours?
No, I did not,
Why?
because I was being courteous to the Albert family.
Now, once you saw the Ford Edge parked on the side of the road near that flagpole, what did you do?
I had to go around the vehicle and as to not hit the vehicle.
All right, and probably obvious, but as you're approaching the vehicle, was it faced in the same direction that you were traveling?
Yes,
And so you're going around to the left or the right of the vehicle?
left.
And once, as you were approaching that vehicle, were you able to see on the right side of that vehicle, the lawn side?
Yes,
Did you see anything on the front lawn at that time?
objection.
I'll allow it. Did you see anything?
No,
Lights were still on.
correct.
All right, now, once you pass the vehicle, did anything attract your attention at all?
No,
All right, where do you go?
I go up to the end of Fairview and do the same process, take a left on this Chapman and back down Chapman and take a left into Fairview again.
Once you come back down Fairview, do you pass the Albert residence again?
Correct.
Was there that car that you saw?
Correct.
It moved from when you passed it the first time.
No,
Were you able to see the front lawn of the Alberts in front of you as you were coming down Fairview?
Annie, have a good
Before
night.
you
Thank you.
addressed?
not as much as the first time because the car blocked the view.
All right. Now, after that, how long did it take you before you came back to that area to plow again?
About 3 hours.
Do you recall about what time it was that you wound up back on Fairview?
I don't honestly recall what specific time.
Sure.
Um,
Approximately, if it was 3:15 to 3:30, that second time, what would be your best estimate of the
Yeah,
time when
that's
you
true,
came
Colin.
back?
Good observation.
I would say if I had to say, it would have been 5:30 up Fairview.
Okay.
And came back down, and then at that point I wasn't able to go further than Carriage Lane.
Okay, and when you say that you went up Fairview and came back down, you initially went from which side of Fairview?
Right side.
What would that be, the right side? I'm sorry. Would it be the Cedar Crest side or the,
It would have been Cedar Crest side.
coming from Cedar Crest and then you went up Fairview, came back down?
Came back down. As I'm going up, I am actually seeing first
I remember hearing
responders.
that too.
And at that point, as I'm coming back down,
I think
the
Turtle
road's
Board
blocked at
reported
that
on
point.
Okay. And when the road was blocked, what, if any, plowing were you able to do after that on Fairview?
I was able to go as far as Carriage Lane and then turn around.
Okay. And then I imagine it was several hours before you could plow again?
Before I could plow Fairview to the end of Cedar Crest, yes.
All right. Now, I'd like to direct your attention to February 15th of 2022. Were you approached by an investigator who wanted to ask you questions about what you had seen and done on January 29th of 2022?
Yes,
Do you remember his name?
yes.
What is it?
Paul?
And what was your understanding about whom Paul worked for?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
On February 15th of 2022, were you ever approached by anybody in law enforcement, sir?
No.
So what was your understanding of Paul's job?
Objection.
I'll see Councilor Taiba.
All right, take a moment here. Andrew, thank you so much. Big super chat, $9.99. We'll round it up to 100. Thank you. Says, love your shows. Keep up the good work. And hashtag free Karen Reed. Hashtag lucky for president. Thank you. I appreciate that. And 25% of your donation will go back to Karen Reed tonight for her defense fund. Thank you so much for the generous donation. I appreciate that. Really helps Karen out and keeps the lights on here in the studio. Thank you. All right, let's speed up a little bit here. I want to get to Lally on Cross. Let's see. Let's go to Lally. I think we've kind of proved our point with seeing the Ford Edge. Let's hear Lally now.
You are unmuted.
A little bit of Lally. Thank you, Emma. I love being in here. It's awesome. It's a nice little space. Very nice space. Wait till I get people over there, though. It's going to be a good, very good time in here. Now, that was the controversial wink that they were trying to pull out on the on X today. All the trolls were out there, and it's literally Karen Reed looking at Liza and winking at her for essentially smashing it earlier with her direct. And it's just acknowledging your attorney. And they're trying to say that Karen was looking at a juror and winking at them and then asking about what is the relationship that Karen has with this juror. These people are sick. They're demented. They're twisted. She wasn't looking at a juror and winking at him. She was looking at Liz and winking and acknowledging her because she looked over and, reports are and that they've gotten very close. And of course, they spent a lot of time together. These people generally care about Karen's well-being and getting her off of all these frivolous bullshit charges. All right, let's play on. Let's hear lollygagging.
Sir, at some point prior to coming in here and testifying today, have you met with Mr. Yannetti?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
And when were those?
And Lucky does not get bullied by Lally at all. Is not going to change his answer.
Times?
Smart guy.
Tuesday and Saturday.
Tuesday and Saturday when, sir?
Tuesday of last week, Saturday of last week.
And this Paul person that you spoke of before, was that person present there as well?
Yes.
And did you make note of Paul writing anything down or Mr. Yannetti writing anything down while you were talking to them?
No.
And as far as you're aware, there's no reports that were generated from any of those conversations or any of those meetings, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, where am I going to go with this? He doesn't know where he's going with this.
So, sir, I'm correct if I say that you're sure about every time that you went down Fairview Road and everything that you saw going down Fairview Road and that you ran into and struck a basketball hoop that night. Is that correct? Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
You're sure about all the times that you went down Fairview Road?
Yes.
And you have no idea what time that you went on Tippy Cart and you struck the basketball hoop. Is that right?
If you ask me to guess, I can guess for you.
I'm not asking you to guess, sir. I'm asking you to know.
I don't recall exactly what time I hit that net.
Nothing further.
All right. Anything, Ms. Giannetti?
There's just one question I want to make sure
I
that.
want to go back a little bit here. We asked him about the troopers asking him questions. Let's see.
No.
So do you know that there is actually no street lighting whatsoever?
Correct.
And your goal, sort of, when you're first getting out there to plow
to the right to prevent cars from having to go through the Rin Road to the left. If you go to the left, you've now put the Rin Road in the middle of the left-hand lane.
Let's go.
No.
So do you know that there is actually no street lighting whatsoever in the area of the fire hydrant, the flagpole, or anywhere there for several hundred feet?
Correct.
So you do know?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
And so when you're driving by, you're looking for cars coming out of the driveway, cars coming in the opposite direction, people walking, is that correct?
Correct.
And you're trying to look for those objects so that you make sure that you don't strike them or hit them or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
Look at Bev flipping her.
And on February 15, 2022, when you had this meeting with Paul, you told him about 3:30 or 4 a.m. Is when you saw this Ford Edge on Cedar Place, correct?
Correct.
Now, in fact, when you first spoke to this individual named Paul, you didn't tell him it was a Ford Edge, correct?
No, told him it was a Ford Edge.
You didn't tell him first that it was a small SUV?
No, told him it was a Ford Edge.
Do you remember at any time Paul taking you on the parking lot and showing you different vehicles and asking you if those vehicles matched what vehicle you saw?
No. He wanted to make sure that what I was telling him was accurate. So he showed me what was a Ford Edge, but I had already told him it was a Ford Edge.
So he brought you out to the parking lot at the skating rink that you were meeting at, specifically showed you a Ford Edge and asked you if that was the vehicle.
Correct.
Now, do you know sort of the difference between, if you were to see a Ford Edge at nighttime in a snowstorm, the difference between a Ford Edge and a Jeep Cherokee?
I love this too.
Yes.
What's the difference?
The taillights in the back.
What about it?
Ford Edge is a more round. The whole back facade is a little bit more round. The Jeep Cherokee are more square.
Now, what color was this SUV that you saw?
I can't tell you that. I am colorblind.
Can you tell? I'm just curious, sir, as far as your colorblindness, can you tell whether or not an object is dark or light just by looking at it? Or you can't
I can see things that are light. I can see things that are dark. I can see true colors. I can't see shades of true colors.
And so from what you saw, was this light or dark?
Light.
Oh, I love it. Real quick, Lally's sinking hard here, and Lucky's just giving it to him and fucking smashing him back in his face. I love it. $5 super chat says it takes a lot of bravery to stand up against people you've been friends with for years. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm guaranteed that. I'm going to tell you, though, I've had some conversations with some people that lived in townies that have lived in Canton for a long time. They've approached me outside the courthouse, and they say that this whole thing is a fucking scam. It's a sham, and they know it. They know it is. They know the McAlberts. They know how deep their ties go. All right, let's finish up with Lucky, and then I want to get.
You told this Paul individual on February 15th that the SUV that you saw was exactly where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
Correct.
How do you know where his body was found?
Excuse me.
I told him specifically if he was looking at the door the front door. It was about 3 feet to the left of the door. And with
To the left of the door?
looking at the front of the door to the left of the door, pushing it up Fairview.
So if he wrote in his report that you told him that
I didn't say
the
that.
vehicle was exactly where the body was found, that would not be true?
Objection.
No, I'll allow that.
Could you repeat that question, please?
If he wrote in his report that you told him that the SUV was exactly where the body was found, that would not be true, would it not?
That would be true. The car was to the left of the door, putting it in front of the flagpole.
My question for you, sir, is how do you know where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found? At any point in time, did you see Mr. O'Keefe's body on the front lawn?
No.
So how do you know where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found?
Through police reports, police interviews, stuff that was posted on the media.
Yeah.
So you've seen police reports in the media?
Well, not the police reports, I'm sorry.
Counts.
But
right.
What was said during on the news?
So what you've heard on the news, not necessarily what you saw or what you know yourself, correct?
Could you repeat that question, please?
You're recounting sort of what you've heard or saw in the news, so this doesn't come from your personal knowledge or anything about where
No.
Mr. O'Keefe was, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you also spoke with some
Evan,
other
thanks for the 10.
individuals in May of 2023, correct?
Real quick. He says, true man stands by what he's seen that night. All truth lies, no lies coming out of his statement. Yeah, this guy has no agenda. He's just going to go in and tell the truth. And that's what we got today, the truth. Very
Correct.
Now, did you tell those individuals that you actually came in, and when you say came in, you come into sort of the main sort of hub or the shed on Boulevard Street, correct?
Correct. We punch in.
That's where you punch in and you pick up your truck and you sort of do your checkpoint around the truck and then you go out and plow.
Correct.
Now, you were plowing on this street. Was there any other sort of subcontractor or anything else that was working plowing the roads as well?
Yes.
And who was that?
It was by the yard landscaping.
And so they assist as far as the plow route is concerned, and they go around and they plow things on the same route that you were describing, correct?
Correct.
Now, these other people that you talked to in May of 2023, did you tell them at that time that you actually came in around 11:30 p.m. to 12 a.m.?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that, or you didn't tell them?
I don't remember that.
So that would be a significant difference, 11:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. from 2:15 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Now, you also indicated to them at that time that you went past Fairview at approximately 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., correct?
I never did 12, but it was definitely 2:30,
So if they wrote
2:40,
that in the report, that
2:35.
would be inaccurate as well, correct?
Sustained, and only one person can talk at a time.
I apologize. I'm sorry, sir. Please continue and finish your answer.
I didn't hear the question.
Okay. Well, let me ask it again. So as far as if that was contained within a report regarding that conversation in May of 2023, that you went past Fairview Road or went down Fairview Road at 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., that would not be accurate, correct?
Sustained, ask it differently.
Did you go down Fairview Road at 12 a.m. and 2 a.m.?
No.
If that were contained in a report of your conversation you had in May of 2023, would that be accurate?
Sustained, ask it differently, Mr. Allen.
Now, as far as that conversation that you had in May of 2023, did you tell those individuals that you saw the vehicle around 1:30 or 2 in the morning?
Again, I don't remember ever saying that.
Is that accurate as far as whether or not you told them that?
Again, I don't remember saying that.
Did you see a vehicle around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning?
I wasn't on the road at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Correct. Do you also recall telling those individuals that Fairview Road was blocked off by cruisers at about 3 or 3:30 in the morning?
Again, that would have been incorrect.
Do you recall saying that in May of 2023?
I do not.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Let's speed up here a little bit of time.
Show counsel.
So I'm gonna ask you to read, show me the document, I'm gonna ask you to read this paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph to yourself, okay? And then whenever you're done, please go on, right?
I think this is going to be about the reports, if I remember. He's like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I good, sir?
Yes.
I approach this retrieval.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Mr. Logren, after having reviewed that, as your memory refreshed, as to that conversation you had in May of 2023,
No, it does not.
so you still, after reading that, don't recall telling anybody in May of 2023 that you came in around 11:30 p.m., 12 a.m. on the 28th, 29th?
I never came in at 11:30, 12:30 at night. It was 2:30 calling.
You don't recall indicating to anyone in May of 2023 that you went past Fairview at 12 a.m. and 2 a.m.?
Correct, never did.
And you don't recall telling anyone that you saw the car around 1:30 or 2 a.m.? Is that correct?
Correct.
You don't recall telling anybody that the part of Fairview containing 34 Fairview was blocked off at 3 or 3:30 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Now, if the part of Fairview that you were talking about, so you didn't say that in May of 2023, because at 3 or 3:30, the roadway wasn't blocked off, correct?
Correct.
It was blocked off sometime around 6 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And so if you had said that the roadway was blocked off at 3 or 3:30 in the morning, and it was actually 6, then when you saw the vehicle would have been off a little bit as well, correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Nothing rattles this guy. He's nails. He is nails. He's a stone.
Seeing the car at 1:32 in the morning, with the road being blocked off at 3 or 3:30 in the morning. If the road's blocked off at 6 a.m., then that actually would have been, you saw a car sometime around 5 a.m., correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Sure you didn't see a black Lexus SUV in front of the house at 34 Fairview Road around 5 a.m.?
No.
Now, you also were asked some questions and you spoke to some troopers in August of 2023, correct?
Correct.
And County Canton, they have a parking ban in Canton, is that correct?
Correct.
That goes from November until April?
Correct.
Now, part of your plow route is a road
Kevin,
called
thanks for
Tippy
the
Card,
5.
correct?
Correct.
Where is Tippy Card in relation to Fairview?
Lucky, right?
It is on top of it's on the right side of Cedar Crest. It would put it 2 streets before Fairview.
And at some point, when you were plowing on Tippy Card that night, you actually hit a basketball hoop, is that right?
Yes.
And did you call that in?
Yes.
And as a result of that, what happened with the basketball hoop after that?
Nothing. The point was to make sure I was covered, basically. That's why I notified my supervisor that I hit the basketball hoop.
And about what time was that you hit the basketball hoop?
I don't recall.
Is it closer to when you started, closer to when you ended?
Oh my God, Lally.
I don't recall. I don't recall what time.
You don't recall anything specific about that time, correct?
No, just that I know I hit the basketball net.
Kat, thanks for the 10.
And
I
obviously,
appreciate
I'm
it.
not trying to put words in your mouth or anything.
Thanks for your
sir, but
support.
you didn't intentionally hit the basketball hoop, correct?
Correct.
So you hit it because you didn't see it, correct?
No, I was attempting to avoid the net by going around it, and the machine had a different size body
Thanks for the 20.
than what it originally had.
That's what it looks like.
And I underestimated
Absolutely.
when I was going around that I need to be wider.
So you misjudged the distance. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Stone. Look at this guy. Doesn't move. Just stone. Just a stone. Just, you're not. This guy's nails. He's bulletproof. Okay, I think we made our point here with Brian Lucky Loughran. Great job today in your testimony. Just truth all the way. The guy just oozes truth. Okay, let's get back to the last segment. We're at 724 likes. I'd love to get this to 1,000. We have 1,200 people in here right now. Smash that like button if you haven't done that. I would appreciate it. We try to get to at least 1,000 likes on this stream so we can push this out into the Eagle algorithm and get more people in tune with the truth about the Karen Read case. So let's get to my final segment here. I want to go over Dr. Russell's testimony, specifically when they brought up the photograph of John's arm. I want you all to listen to her description and her expert opinion of what caused those injuries on John O'Keefe's arm. And then I have a little bonus feature for you that I found today, and I want to play some of that, and I want you to see how eerily similar it all lines up. So give me a second here, and I'll pull that up here in a second. Let me get to this. Kevin with a 9.99er. We'll round that up to 10. Says Lally doesn't know how to question somebody that actually tells the truth, not like all of his witnesses. I completely agree, and thank you so much for the 10. We're going to get another $5 here. Crystal, boy, mom, 101, a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Says, love that Lally tried to shake him up, but he couldn't. The truth doesn't get that shaken up. Free Karen Read. Hashtag more lucky, less Lally. I think that's pretty badass. That's pretty cool. I love that. And I just saw a Cash App come through too. Let's be transparent about that. We're going to get that Cash App up on there. And we had Cash App. We had $5 from Katie. Thank you. I appreciate the $5. We'll add that to the total. All right, let's pull up Dr. Russell. And then I'm going to play I'm going to play something that we'll see how that all lines up with Dr. Russell's testimony. All right, just fair warning, we are going to see arm injury again to John O'Keefe, any type of trigger warning, stuff like that. But let's get into this here. YouTube, you better not demonetize me again.
So the Commonwealth's objection is overruled. You can continue.
Doctor, you've listed several items that you've reviewed in coming to your opinions and conclusions. Did you also review a toxicological report?
Yes.
And a neurology report, neuropathology report?
Yes.
As well, from the Commonwealth?
Yes.
Based on your review of all of those materials, I don't want to know what your opinion or conclusion is yet, but were you able to come to an opinion or conclusion concerning the injuries specifically to John O'Keefe's arm?
Listen here,
right arm.
please.
Were there any documents in furtherance of your review from UC Davis?
Yes.
Did you review those as well?
Objection.
Sustained.
With the court's permission, may we display exhibit 19?
I believe I'm saying that.
Okay.
Doctor, I want to show you a photograph and ask you very quickly, have you seen this before?
Yes.
Is this one of a number of photographs that you reviewed in furtherance of your evaluation of this case?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to just focus your attention on this for just a quick second and ask you, does this accurately reflect the wounds or injuries that you saw on John O'Keefe's right arm in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes, it reflects the injuries that I saw in photographs.
All right. Now, based on your review.
Carol, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be super transparent with you here. Okay. This is how I do my shows. People come here for my commentary. We go through the videos. I stop and start. I'm going to tell you why. It's for fair use. That's how we have to do this. So unfortunately, if you want to just watch the straight testimony, you can go back earlier. I streamed the whole trial today. You can find that right on my homepage, or you can go right to the Law and Crime Network and just watch this straight through. That's what we do here. We do commentary at night. We go over the testimony. We'll interject. I will stop. I will pull up chats. It's just the way I run my show. And that's why people come here, because this is a show. It's a performance. We're putting on a performance for the people that watch us. So unfortunately, that's what we do here. And Anyway, I will move on. By the way, Lizzie, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Says, I vote Lucky Law Firm Massachusetts Man of the Year. Yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, let's get into the injuries. And then I'm going to play something that was done earlier this year, and I want you to hear how eerily similar Dr. Russell matches up with another expert.
Review of all of the data that you've talked about, all of the information that you were given and reviewed. What is your opinion or conclusion about how these injuries were sustained?
I believe that these injuries were sustained by an animal, possibly a large dog, because of the pattern of the injuries.
Could you describe for the jurors, please, on what you based that opinion?
Yes. Well, may I use the?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. There's a number of patterns here. There on the upper part of the arm, there's parallel lines, and those were inflicted by either teeth or claw marks. So there's a number of patterns that could be teeth or claw mark. And so this is one set right here. This is the one further down, closer to the elbow, is another set of parallel marks. Again, probably most likely from teeth marks. And the reason I say that is, in addition to the parallel marks up here, down here, there's also little punctate, incomplete puncture marks here, little round marks right there that were inflicted by the actual point of the tooth.
Okay, that was my question. What relevance does that have to your determination that this was likely caused by an animal?
Yes, and I can explain in a moment the various kinds of wounds that animals can inflict. But going on with the picture first. So then down right at the elbow, there's another different series of marks that again have linear abrasions up where the pointer is, and then down below some punctate, superficial, round, small abrasions, again representing upper and lower teeth, in my opinion. And then there are some irregular wounds down just below the elbow. And these are all, by the way, on the exterior surface, or what we call what doctors would call the posterior surface of the arm, which is the part of the arm that would sustain defensive type wounds. So if someone were to protect themselves.
Objection.
So sustain. Next question.
Sure. Doctor, if I can ask another question. Just to clear up what you said a little earlier about something wounds close to the elbow, is it your opinion that both the top teeth and bottom teeth could have created some or all of the injuries on that elbow area?
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, instead of the mouth going all the way around the arm, it could have, the top and bottom jaw could have situated itself on this portion that we're seeing, the posterior part of the arm.
Yes, and in this case, the animal did not get a good enough contact.
Objection. Move to strike.
So I'm going to strike that, ask a different question.
Have you seen contact wounds where the animal, a dog, for instance, gets a very solid purchase on the leg, arm, part of the body?
Yes.
Okay, is that this or is this something else?
Something else.
Describe that.
Well, an animal inflicts injuries. The type of injury depends in part on the actual type of contact and how much force is applied by that animal, in addition to any relative movement between the animal and the victim in this case. So, for instance, in the law enforcement dog bites, many of...
Objection.
Right. So the nature, is it notice? Is it, what's One word.
May we approach?
Okay.
All right. Real quick before we move on here. There was a theory that's thrown out, and I've heard this around a lot too. I'm pretty sure this is Chloe that did this, but I know a lot of people have raised this question. Could it have been another animal that night after John was brought out and maybe was looking, and this sounds as disgusting as it is, was looking for some type of food. Now, I do know this, and I searched around today and I found an article. This was back in February 9th of this year, and I'm sure it's pretty seasonable, but it says it's coyote mating season in Massachusetts, and that would be around the time of January to February. And I've heard this theory. Could it have been a coyote that did this? Maybe a coyote was looking and scavenging or something and came across John. Unfortunately, I know it's a horrible sight to think about, but I know this has been brought up and a lot of people have talked about this. But I'm going to debunk that. I'm not saying going with that theory. I'm going to go with the Chloe theory because it seems absolutely more plausible in this case. But I know that was being thrown out a lot on Twitter today, or X, however you want to call it. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and maybe think about it. Maybe think about it a little bit. All right, let's go back to testimony here. I'm not saying I'm rolling with that, but that has been thrown out there. Let's see. Kevin, thank you so much for the 5. I can picture a sweet woman inviting you over for cookies and coffee, but I also can put you in your place when you were wrong. Granny's awesome and very smart. I agree. Let's see. Tsunami says, I want to see Lally's steps for the counts for the last 8 weeks. Step counts for the last 8 weeks. That'd be funny. I want to see how many cigarettes he smoked. I'm going to speed this up for time, and then I will play that parallel video. Saf saying, if the arm was bit, the jury must acquit. Excuse me. I'm just calling out some of the theories that were put out there. I'm not saying that I'm sticking to that theory, but this was floating around on X today, so I like to bring that up and talk about it. I still think it's Chloe. The sidebar was long from what I can remember. I just want to go.
You are unmuted.
Here we go. A little bit more about it. Actually, all right, so we're going to go to Lally. I don't need to hear him, but let me run. So we got all that information out of Dr. Russell, and she opined about what she thought caused the injuries to John's arm. Now let's go to this live. And this was a live back on 5 months ago on Melanie Little's channel, January 12th, 2024. And I hope Melanie doesn't mind. She's a buddy of mine. But I'm going to play this. And I want you to hear her expert, Garrett Wing, about how he opined about the injury to John's arm. And gosh, it lines up almost perfectly. Here we go.
Yeah, this should do it. I think this will get it done here. Yeah. Just bear with me as I pull this up.
Sure.
And go subscribe to Melanie Little if you haven't.
All right.
Literally just passed 50,000 subscribers on her channel the other day. Good for you, Melanie. Well deserved. You are a friend. I love you to death. And you're killing it on YouTube. And I hope you get a silver play button. I hope we all get silver play buttons someday. I'm definitely going after one. It might take me a little while longer, but we'll get there someday. All right, let's go.
I actually sent this photo to 2 other police canine handlers and who are also trainers who themselves have seen countless bites. Probably between us, we've seen, hundreds each. And I didn't say anything. I said, what are your thoughts on this? And they said, there was zero question that this is a dog bite. Zero question to them. Their thought, though, was that this was a police dog that probably should have been.
I want you to listen, though, how he describes the bite. And he says the front teeth, how it grabbed and pulled, just the same way that Dr. Russell explained. It's almost mind-boggling that it's exact same account, expert opinion,
Been
in their-
washed
in their
out.
opinion.
This is not what we want to see on a police dog bite. We don't want to see constant re-engagements, which is what this looks like. But this is what I would expect from like that German Shepherd we saw bite that lady, the
I
delivery
reached
driver,
out to
right?
Sean
Just
Right.
naturally
a
going
lot
in.
in the last. I know he went through a serious situation with his family. He's been back doing lives. We actually had a show scheduled just before he had a death in the family, and I've been trying to reschedule with him. And when he gets time, hopefully we can do a show together. I would love that. I'd love to have Sean come back. Sean came on my channel once. We had a great live, and hopefully we can do that again. All right, let's keep playing
And
here.
doing as much damage as possible, not understanding the mechanics of biting deep and holding. These, in my opinion, are bites utilizing the front of the mouth. Furthermore, I had seen video, and I could be wrong, but when Mr. O'Keefe was last seen on that surveillance camera in the bar, it appears like he's wearing a long sleeve shirt, almost like a sweater, maybe.
Yeah, somebody was asking that exact question. So let me pull up that exact question, but keep going.
And this is exactly indicative of a dog. And we see this even with trained police dogs. When someone's wearing baggy clothing or long sleeves or jeans or a jacket,
They're grabbing.
you're
and
going to
pulling.
get these more shallow bites. The dog's constantly trying to get a grip on the prey. And of course, the prey item is moving away, and you're going to get these. This is what's considered shallow bite marks. This is the dog trying to get a grip, but the only thing that's sinking in are those front teeth. And the biggest thing that kind of stood out to me, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but this bite right here, I'm even calling it a bite. I'm trying to stay objective here, but
okay,
these look like, and you see this a lot with shallow bites. What it looks like is this is maybe the left canine, maybe the bottom right canine, or the canine here, but these.
Is there a way for you to enlarge that photo
Let's
on
see.
your screen? Yeah, there we go. It's a
This
V
looks
shape.
like the front teeth. Think of the dog's, let's say potentially the teeth were here, the bottom teeth were here. These little ones here are the little, and I'm not a veterinary dentist by any means.
Yep.
These are the small little baby teeth.
That is my point of playing this, and I'm glad that you caught this, because I wanted to line these up side by side, and it's almost exactly what Dr. Russell said.
Actually have a very crude example here. I don't know if you guys can still see me or if I have to stop.
Yeah, I'm
sharing
going to
my
give you,
screen.
I'll give you the full screen.
Don't mind this. We use this for one of our videos. Not the canines, but these little teeth right here. When you get a shallow bite, that's what it looks like. And I can actually pull up another picture of a dog bite that we know is a dog bite, and you're going to see the same kind of, I don't know if you want to call it striations, but those front baby teeth also causing damage. So I'll stop sharing for a second, and then I'll reshare.
So Olivia asked, can the dog bite and scratch through sweatshirt sleeves, long sleeves on long sleeve shirt?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's when you're going to see, again, more shallow biting, less punctures, because the dog keeps trying to get a grip, but that material offers just a little bit of protection and makes the material slip more, which gets you more of that kind of striping or laceration. So I'm going to share my screen again, and this again is another dog bite, an actual dog bite that no one's arguing. And you're going to see this is a very minor dog bite, but this is from those front baby teeth. I'm saying baby teeth, but you know, whatever those little teeth are between the canines. See that?
Yeah.
That might be from a canine, but this is that's just from a really shallow bite, right? Where the dog just barely got a hold of the skin, and those front teeth took care of it, which we can see a lot in dogs that are in more of a defensive drive, meaning they're not trying to kill something, but they're saying, you know, get away, get away.
If y'all haven't seen this and you don't know about Melanie, you need to go subscribe to my friend, attorney Melanie Little. And at the end of the stream, I will drop this episode link in the chat so you all can view it. We're going to play a little bit more here, and then we're going to wrap this up for tonight.
from me, so they're not committing to the bite.
It's so interesting because most people, I think, when
Exactly what Dr. Russell said on that stand.
we look at this, not being experts in dog bites or dog handling, would say that those look like scratches.
Yeah, that is a dog bite all day from the front teeth, those little baby teeth between the canines. They can do some damage too.
Great. Okay, you said you had a video.
Yeah. Let me pull that up, and we'll just show you some dog bites. Again, these are trained dogs that, or at least in training, learning how to bite, but you'll get a feel for what a dog bite looks like from a Belgian Malinois or a German Shepherd. Let's go ahead and I'll pull this one up. Make sure it's kosher for you all. All right. Don't mind some of the sound effects that are happening. It's going to be allowed. No real trigger warning here. This is a German Shepherd young police dog, about a year old, learning how to bite through different materials. Share my screen again. This should be good.
Okay.
When we do get them off, run away behind that tree if you can. It's like he fucked you up. Oh, yeah. One more good bite. Go get a bite. Yeah, they don't want to let go, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful dog.
Wow.
Really like that dog. We have other videos like that. I'll go ahead and pull up another one where you should actually see that raking motion happen. We're using newspaper in this instance.
Yes.
Just to teach the dog that if we ask you to bite, I don't care what the guy's wearing, because you'd be surprised what these bad guys do. They'll cover themselves in, you name it. We had to bite a guy once.
We had to bite a guy once. How often do you hear that in everyday conversation? We had to bite a guy once.
Yeah, this guy had run into a school, and he was hiding in, like, I don't know, it was a kindergartner's class or first grade class. It's actually pretty hairy because he was armed with a gun, and
oh no.
It's actually a really funny story. It's worth.
So it was a potential school shooting? Like this was not
No, this is after hours. This is after hours,
Oh, okay.
and there's no one in the school. But we knew he went last, and we had to get him out of the school because the next day it's like 3 a.m. We gotta get him out of the school because we can't open the school, and there's a bad guy hiding. And guess where he's hiding? He had found himself in a classroom and just covered himself with like gym equipment, stuffed animals, you name it, but he had completely covered himself. Think of it like a pile of like dirty clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing we saw when we passed by was his eye like poking out between like some socks. And I was like, he's right there. And then anyways, the dog smelled.
And that's it.
Like that. And the dog dove in, was biting like I don't know, somebody's leftover gym socks. And we said, no, that's not the bad guy. You got to re-engage and get the actual guy who's underneath all of that stuff. So, but anyways, I'll talk your ear off about dog bite after dog bite. Let me see if I can find a good one where, yeah, this is a good one.
Let me just hold on 1 second. I just want to highlight this.
Let's go right here.
There you go.
Watch your hand. Watch your hand. Yep.
Your hand.
Use your other hand. Yep.
So, I'm going to switch with you in a second. And you're going to take that hand, and a little pressure that way.
Hearing
with the
motion.
heel.
Don't be afraid.
So you're safe here on top. You can wrap your fingers. How far?
It's starting to tear through.
Good, Stella.
One more.
Oh, Stella.
Good. Take them off. Good. That was good.
My girlfriend.
And you see how much ripping happens, right? Rip the newspaper right off. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, let's go to the arm. I remember this, and I want to show the arm, and then we're going to wrap this one up. Where was it? Started about 30. All right, let's listen here a little bit.
Man's best friend. And so to get them to actually go from biting equipment to actually biting real human flesh, some dogs, it's a very easy transition. Those are those harder dogs, a little bit crazier. But most of the time, we actually have a hard time getting them to commit to a bite. And so a dear friend of mine, actually, Steve Sprouse, who's been in the police canine world for probably almost 4 decades, invented this equipment that I want to show you now.
Mm-hmm.
And his company is called Arm & Lagan. And what he does is he creates these prosthetic limbs specifically made for teaching police dogs how to bite.
Really interesting.
And this particular one has a little bit more than a handful of bites on it. The idea here being we set up a scenario, a training scenario.
Yeah,
with
well,
a,
you can see
a
those
bad guy. I'll
gyrations
play the bad
we
guy,
were
let's
talking
say. The
about.
dog, by the way, does not know it's a training scenario. That's the ticket. That's the trick. In all dog training, by the way, whether it's pet dogs or police dogs, they don't know whether they're training or not. We try to make it as real to life as possible. So the dog comes out, we hide, dog finds the bad guy, and the only thing we try to make available is this, because this is the only thing stopping us from getting really bit. There's no other protection. And I want to show you.
There they are.
You see the lacerations that are caused from dog bites? You're not really seeing punctures. It looks as if this was stabbed with a knife. Now, that's the closest to a puncture.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's ripping.
Look at that.
It's a ripping type thing. Dogs bite and they pull. And at the same time, we are naturally pulling back to create our own back tension, which is exactly what what a rabbit would do in the wild. You know what I mean? A rabbit doesn't, we call them, there's no such thing as suicide bunnies. If a bunny or any other prey item is getting bit, their whole objective is to get away, get away, get away. And that's where you the lacerations that happen. So that's one piece. And here's another one. By the way, tell me if this doesn't look kind of similar to something we may see a little later. Pretty interesting, right? Don't mind the discoloration. This was just a funky mold. But again, look at the lacerations. And I have to kind of spread it because of the material, but they're more like cut wounds. And you can see the angle, right? It's pretty consistent depending upon how you present it. So hopefully your viewers find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And if
would
you wanna,
there go ahead? Let me just go ahead. Finish before you, and then I'll. Would
I was
there
gonna
be?
say if you wanted to see a video of a dog actually doing it.
Yeah.
So there, I just wanted to give a little bit more perspective today on Dr. Russell's testimony, and I mean, you can go back and rewind the section or go over and listen to it. It's almost to a T. And this guy is definitely an amazing expert that works with training police dogs. And if you haven't seen that episode, I will copy and paste the link in the chat for you all to check that out. Oh, real quick, before we go off air, I wanted to show this as well too. And this was a really great thing that I saw by Microdots today. And he's just been flipping them out there and killing it. So this came up on Microdot's Twitter account, and it says, Higgins' perspective: if Brian Higgins' Jeep was truly parked in front of the mailbox, as he and other suspects of the Commonwealth witnesses claim, this would have been the view, reconstructing their testimony highlights how absurd their sworn testaments are. And you have that view picture there. And this would have been from that angle right there. So, my friends, I'm going to leave that with you tonight. What do we have for a total? And then we're going to take 25% of that and we're going to kick that back to Karen Reed. I'm just going to wait for the total. I think we were well over 700. Let's see. What was the total? Let me see if I can scroll up and see it. She might have fallen asleep. Let's see. Bear with me here for a second. Does anybody know what total was? I think we're over 700. Just want to make sure we get the chat total. Okay, I have 772 as the last posted. So 772. We're going to take 25% of that and kick it back to Karen Reed. So that's 193. I'm going to kick back. Wait, is that right? 772 minus 25%, 193. Let's make it $200. We're going to round it. I like round numbers. So I'm going to kick back $200 to Karen Reed's defense fund tonight. I will post that up on the defense link, and I will get the receipt posted up on my Facebook page, LTL Media, and I'll post it in the YouTube community page as well. And then you can ultimately just go vet me, right to Karen Defense link, and it will say LTL Chat Media. LTL Media Chat Raiser, and you'll have the date of 6/21/24. I'm going to make that donation right now before I go off air. Please, on the way out, make sure to smash the like button. I don't know what likes we're at. I'd love to get to 1,000 likes on this video tonight. I can't see the likes, unfortunately, but maybe someone can call it out before we end. And they're saying that they're going to rest. The defense is supposedly going to rest on Monday, possibly Tuesday. Then it will get handed over to the verdict. Wow, we're at 922 likes. Let's make this possible, people. And then this is going to get handed over to the jury. And I don't know. You know, it's all from there. It all goes from there. And I will be, if there is no verdict by Wednesday morning, I will be out in front of the courthouse in support, and maybe we go from there. And if this goes longer and it's still in deliberation, I will be there in the courtroom on Friday. I think they still allow people to be seated. I don't see why they wouldn't, but I will be there on Friday if this takes until Friday for a verdict. So thank you all so much for the support tonight. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for the chat, the Cash Apps, the chats, the super chats. I do appreciate it, and allowing me to kick that back to Karen and helping her with defense, because she needs every dollar that she can right now to get through this. And I'm happy to donate the 25% to her and keep that rolling. I love all of you. Thank you for continuing to support me here on the channel. This week, I'm planning to get my first in-studio guest. I'm going to start making some calls and emails tomorrow to make that happen. I just have to set up my second camera position. The microphone is literally on the table and ready to go. And we will get our first live guest here in the studio and go on from there. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate you all. And I will be back Sunday night with Jess Machado, courtroom correspondent, to get her take of the jury in the courtroom. She's been sick over the last week or so. She's starting to feel better, but at least we can get her perspective and see how she's feeling with this case, and get her perspective on everything so far in this case. And now that the defense is up. And I've been reaching out to some guests to try to get them on and try to make some things happen. I have a huge guest that I'm trying to get on the show right now, and hopefully I can make that happen. If I do, I think it's going to be a really great thing, and I think you'll all enjoy it. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. Have a great, wonderful rest of your night and your weekend. I will be back live here Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Jess Machado. I love all of you, and thank you for supporting Let's Talk Live. And I'm going to head out of here. Here's the outro. Bye, everybody. Good night. Peace.
Take the changes, take the track, line up a media time to adapt. They try to control us with their lines and their schemes, but I'm a rise above, fulfill my wildest dreams. The beats be pain, the rhymes be tight, trap rap flowing through the darkest night. Don't mistake me for the sellouts on the screen. I'm spitting truth, we can question what you've seen.